Welcome to this special live stream. Thank you so much, Adam, for what I assume was a wonderful introduction. It occurred to me about 30 seconds ago that because I couldn't hear it, I now have no idea what you've said in introduction, and I'm going to repeat probably half of it. But that's okay. I want to just start off. I'm Tess. I want to just start off by acknowledging that I live and work on the unceded lands of the Wattamadgal clan of the Darug Nation in Australia. They're the custodians of this land. I pay my respects to elders past and present, and I'll just pass around to my players if anyone else would like to do the same.
Hi, everybody. I'm Leandro. I also work on the unceded lands of the Wattamadgal clan of the Darug Nations, but I live on Gadigal land, and I also want to pay my respects to elders past, present, and extend that respect to any Indigenous viewers that we might have. And I'm really excited to get this going.
I'm Tielah. I live and work on Ghana land in Adelaide, South Australia.
Marcus, I'm the token U.S. person here. I live and work on Dakota, Lakota, and Ojibwe lands.
Thank you. This event is part of the Historical Games Network's current theme of gender. So I'm the guest chair for this theme, and if you're interested in hearing more about gender and history in games in all sorts of forms, please come along to our panel. It'll be in July now. It's been a little bit postponed, but you can find out details about that on the blog that I'm sure Adam has already mentioned and hopefully linked. There are going to be lots of contributions coming up on the blog in this kind of general topic area. We've had some really great ones sent in already. For today, I decided that I wanted to take this opportunity to do a bit of a playtest of a tabletop roleplay game system that I've been working on. It's still a kind of draft concept. It's something that's been rattling around in the back of my mind for a while, and hopefully today is a good kind of test of some of these mechanics. I did just want to kind of give a disclaimer at the beginning. We are all scholars and researchers in this area. We love games, we play games, but we are by no means professional actual play voice actors or anything like that. So if you're coming here from the kind of Critical Role Dimension 20 type fandoms, please lower your expectations significantly. We're here to have fun and kind of try this out and chat about it as we go. So it is a playtest. There's a very basic kind of version of some of the core mechanics now available on my website, and there's a link through the chat for the Twitch stream. And there's also a form there, a Google Forms feedback survey. So if you have any thoughts about the game, that is for the kind of game system itself, not just our tabletop skills. So not necessarily if you have strong feelings about the player's choices in the story or anything like that, you can put them in the Twitch chat. But the surveys for the kind of game mechanics, the game system itself, and how well we conveyed it, or the rules conveyed it, and how well you think it kind of works for history especially, or fantasy or anything. Any amount of tabletop experience is still useful and helpful feedback, so please don't feel like it needs to be anything fancy, but if you have any thoughts, drop in there and send them through. So I already kind of made them introduce themselves very quickly in a sense, but now I just want to pass over to my three wonderful, wonderful players for today. They're all, like I said, researchers in the early stages of their careers who work on gender and history, and we will go around and I'll let everyone give you a very quick introduction to who they are. And then we'll get going with some more admin and then the game. So we'll just go same order, I think. If that's all right.
Yeah, sure. Hi again. As I said, I'm Leandro. I'm a PhD candidate on the last leg, though. Hopefully soon. I am working on queer Indigenous representations and practices in and around video games. So looking at a mesh of areas from gender studies, queer studies, history, game studies, critical Indigenous studies as the main one, of course. And I don't know what else to say.
That's it.
That's a great start. We're moving up.
So I am Tielah. So I am currently in the end stages of my master's in history. My thesis at the moment is on the representation of historical women in fiction. So I'm looking at Anne Boleyn and how genre and form of a text can affect the feminist representations that authors or writers create.
Hi, I'm Marcus. I am an undergraduate at Oberlin College. I work in queer theory and game and music history and kind of just any amalgamation thereof. I managed to get 2 of those to work together pretty well, but I can't quite do all 3 yet. That's a lot.
I wrote Marcus in, sent one email to my PhD supervisor about my work, and now is sucked into this crazy world. Thank you so much for your enthusiasm. You're very new to this, and you're doing awesome. I realized as I passed over to everyone else that I didn't introduce myself. So going strong, just scrolled past the part of my notes that said introduce. That was all I wrote. So, hi, I'm Tess Watterson. I finished my PhD a couple of years ago now. That's upsetting. The other day, in my mind. I work on historical games and medievalism mostly. So my PhD thesis was about witchcraft and witches in fantasy computer role-play games. And before that, my master's looked at Robin Hood video games. So I'm coming from more of a kind of digital gaming side, but moving more and more into thinking about tabletop games and all the wonderful and interesting opportunities that they hold, I think, for history and storytelling. Like I said, this game has kind of been in the back of my mind. Every conference when I talk about other games, and the things that I maybe don't love about how they do things to do with history and gender, especially people sort of, the first question off the bat is always, but what would you want to do in a game? What do you think is a good way to do it? Which is a reasonable question, and I've avoided for years. But this is kind of my general answer to some of those thoughts. I do want to say a shout out to the wonderful people at Coding Medieval Worlds, the workshop I've been going to and helping organize for 5 years, and I've never actually talked about this game at that workshop, but every year all the kind of brilliant brainstorming, workshopping that we do there has kind of informed how I wrote this in lots of ways, so thank you, including Adam. So thanks everyone. If you're coming here from Coding Medieval Worlds, if that's how you know me or heard about this, welcome, thank you. So the game system that we're going to be playing today is called World Weaver. And shout out there to one of my friends, my players from my home game, who was kind of playtesting this with me and actually suggested that should be its name. Thanks, Will. So I was giving them the kind of spiel about the concepts, all these kind of different threads that you weave together, and that's kind of where it came from. The general concept, I hope, can be used for any period, any kind of archetype in history. The version that we are going to play today, the kind of original version, obviously, given my research, is about witches. Witch. So the kind of big concept is it's a kind of meta system, so it lets us think a little bit more about who tells stories about the past, who remembers different details in different ways, assigns different meanings to different things, based on their kind of own identity and resources. So as you will see, all of the players have made 2 different characters. We're going to be calling them a reality character and an imagination character. So most of our story is taking place in a kind of amorphous imaginary. We're calling the historical imagination. If you're a historian and you know more about the way that term is used by historians, we're doing it a little differently here, but the kind of broad concept is that that's a space where anything and everything is possible that has ever been kind of imagined about this figure of the witch. And we'll draw on lots of different things and incorporate them. So we're using history or inspired by history and thinking about all these different ideas that kind of float around in our popular imaginary. But this is in no way an attempt to be historically accurate, as it were. This is a kind of collaborative storytelling game, and it's all about fantasy and counterfactuals maybe, and drawing on different things that did not happen at the same time or didn't take place at the same time, and seeing what happens when you throw them together. So lots of different things, and hopefully it will be very fun. There is, as I said, a basic rules document. It's read only. You can look at it while we play, and I'll leave it up for a little while for people watching the recording. Any of that is kind of subject to change. This is a kind of early version that we are testing. If you want to know more about it in the future, though, the link that goes to my website, that site will stay there and be updated with any details. Again, quick note as well that we've used a couple of different safety tools if you're interested in that kind of side of tabletop roleplay gaming. I'll get Adam to put the link in the chat, hopefully, to the kind of toolkit that we use. But basically, we talked about things that we are and aren't comfortable with as the players, and things that we want kind of depicted or not depicted, mentioned, not mentioned. So I can let you know in advance that there's not going to be any mention of medical malpractice in any form, and suicide and sexual violence are veiled. So that means we might mention them lightly, but they're not going to be depicted or explored in any depth. Those are the only absolute kind of content trigger warnings that I can give, of course, because we're doing this live, and it's a kind of improvised storytelling format, so there might be things that come up. We are going to be exploring some elements that are inspired by the early modern witch trial period European history, so themes of kind of violence and persecution that our story might touch on, especially in relation to gender and race. We're not going to be doing any kind of combat-heavy system, anything like that, but those themes kind of might come up. We're also using the X card kind of system so that the players can tell me if they feel uncomfortable about something, and we'll kind of pivot away. So if you do feel at any moment that the story kind of shifts, that there might be a reason. But take care of yourselves as you watch. If you need to take a moment and take space, please do that. And please make sure that the chat stays respectful and acknowledges those couple of hardline content warnings that I said already. Finally, I already said this, but saying it again because it's in the end of my notes, please do the feedback form. You can do it as many times as you like, and you can do it anonymously. So any thoughts that you would like to share, this is a playtest. It's still in development, so we would love to hear from you. I think that's all of my admin things that I needed to say before we get started. So let's jump in to Witch. We begin our story in reality. Our chosen reality is kind of now. We talked about this before we started preparing the game, so this is the first thing you want to establish with your players if you are playing this game, is where your kind of real characters are drawn from. If they're coming from the same place or different, you might have people from 17th century and today. It doesn't matter how those characters are kind of connected because they don't need to interact with each other. So I will ask each of our players to get us started, to give us a little description, a moment in the life of their reality character, kind of montage moment, so we get a little glimpse of who these three people are. Whatever you would like to share. So let's kick off. I'm going to say who can go in what order so that we don't end up with lots of awkward silences. So I'll throw to Tielah first if you want to start.
Yeah, absolutely. So my reality character is named Jenna. She's a she/they, and you can see Jenna just sort of sitting in her room. She's a uni student, so she does a lot of courses online, spends a lot of time online. You get the sense that she's very much a elder, sort of goth, alternative person. Around her room, there's lots of posters of all things fantasy, things for Charmed, The Craft, some things for Agatha all along, very much into the witchy scene. She's on a fan fiction website, which is where she spends most of her time, doing some reading, doing some writing, and having some chats with her friends about how there's just no really like immense witchcraft series in books for her to be able to immerse herself in. There's sort of bits here and there, and she decides she's going to write it herself. So she's got a document up and she's ready to go.
Marcus, do you want to go
next? Excuse me. My reality character is Isaac, similarly a college student, definitely not a self-insert. Has a lot of books around the room. Some posters up, specific bands. One of Philip Glass, because that's the rabbit hole I've fallen down recently. Just enjoys trying new things within sort of a boundary of, like, obviously not going to, like, go skydiving, but may just be like, hey, that railing's fun, let me slide down the entirety of it, and then maybe fall off accidentally. Not speaking from personal experience here, of course. But yeah, sort of interested in going down specific, like, media rabbit holes, or kind of wherever the wind takes them.
Beautiful. And Leandro, lucky last.
John is a very self-made man. He doesn't believe there's no pronouns, right? That's an invention that doesn't exist. And he has been working hard on real interesting historical facts. Economic and political is all that matters. Everything else is just subjectivity, and it really has no place in academia. Honestly, I don't know why we're talking about this. If you work hard, you can succeed in life. That's John's motto. That's how we work here.
Beautiful. Thank you all so much for beautiful encapsulations of who your characters are. For this system, the players have kind of narrative concepts for their reality characters, but they don't have too much of a kind of complex character sheet in that sense. That's more for the imagination character, which we'll get to in a minute. So most of our story is now going to take place in the historical imagination. Using this idea again, historians sort of talk about this. We think of it as a kind of repository of all the different versions of the past that people imagine. Generally, we mean things that people thought to be real. So the kind of version of this concept we're using for this game is a little different, but we're operating with the assumption that anything people believe or believe others to believe, anything that's been kind of thought of and imagined can exist in this space. We are setting up the kind of beginning of that with some broad features of our game world, our historical imagination world, that we came up with together collectively in our kind of first session 0 equivalent, and we're going to go around and share those to kind of set up the broad concepts, to give us a couple of parameters, because there is just so much out there around the figure of the witch. So this is a way of kind of narrowing to somewhere to start in that big amorphous space. So we'll go around again. I'll go reverse order if you want to share yours. The kind of format for these is in this world, ... So Leandro, do you want to go first?
Yes, of course. So in this world, Ignacio is they were born and raised on an hacienda. So doesn't really know where to be there. They work on the big house, but they live and sleep on the small house. And they, of course, manual labor is part of their life, and don't get to decide much outside of that. They have been moved from the hacienda when the family moved, and somehow managed to escape once they arrived to destination, and has been bumping around through the world with hiccups here and there. Things tend to happen when emotions get a hold of them, and things move. There's a kind of a small bird that follows them around and has become a very good companion to talk when you're lonely. And with this ability of being in the big house and the small house, they can move around kind of undetected. So people notice them, but they're not sure what they talked about. If they talked about, they had seen Ignacio around, but I'm not sure when, where, and how if they interacted with them. That's one of their main abilities, to go around the world kind of unnoticed, but still there. You know of them, but you don't know them truly.
Cool. That was a very beautiful introduction to your character. It was not the thing that I was talking about, but that is absolutely on me. So we'll start with those, and that is absolutely fine. So thank you very much. That is your imagination character, your witch. So
yes.
I'll get the other two if you want to do a little intro to your witch character as well. We'll start there and then go to the world. You're absolutely fine. That is, I articulated that poorly. So Marcus, do you want to go next?
Great. My character in the fantasy world, my character is Quinn, who is the town apothecary, rather new, has lost all of access to all of their recipe books, and so now is sort of trying to use various methods such as like tarot and other divination things to like figure out and reverse engineer recipes, be that like potions or pastries or kind of anything in between. The results are decidedly mixed, but they're kind of fun and all over the board. That's where we're going.
Beautiful. And Tielah?
All right, so my imagination character is Raven Shadowsong. This is a young woman, and she just radiates with ethereal beauty, but also an energy that makes everyone just a little bit uneasy around her. They can't quite decipher why. Wherever Raven goes, you'll find her, and also a bird, quite a large sort of black sort of crow raven looking bird that is always with her, always on her shoulder, always on her arm, follows her around, very, very familial with her. And despite the unease that she gives people, what the townsfolk don't see is that Raven spends all of her time looking after creatures of the woods, feeding them, healing them, and is just always surrounded by the animals of the world.
Beautiful. Thank you. The world features that I was alluding to and didn't clearly explain. I did absolutely tell the players that the second thing I would get them to do is to introduce their imagination character. So those are our three main imagination characters, and they exist in a world that we chose some kind of broad features for that shaped the way that these characters are written. So I will now go around, same order, if you want to share the feature that you added as a player to our world.
You can tell this is live by the bunch of mistakes I'm going to make. Great start. So the idea I had is that witches can float or walk on water. So that can be a way of determining whether someone's a witch or not.
Monty Python, but not.
Not.
The other way around.
TM.
Which I think also means that we discussed witches had to invent like showers because bathtubs would not work for them. Which is fun.
That's canon.
Yes. My thing that I chose is that witches have a particular birthmark. It could be akin to a tattoo, but is a birthmark somewhere.
And the feature that I added was that witches always have a familiar of some kind, but the form of that familiar is a little more murky. So it could be an animal, it could be a shapeshifted witch. Nobody really knows.
Awesome. And kind of bringing those together, the one that I added as broadly in the kind of game world as possible is that witchcraft is an uncontested reality. It definitely exists. It's definitely possible. It's just the sort of details and perhaps the morality that may be debated of different kinds of magic. But in our world, witchcraft is very much real and observable and tangible. So our setting, as we enter into this world of the historical imagination now, is a bustling town square, a kind of quintessential town of fantasy medievalism. So our town is called Misty Hollow, which is to remind us that this is a fantasy setting and not an attempt to recreate an accurate or specific past. It is a walled town. It's kind of built up on a slightly raised area of land surrounded by little sprawling buildings and streets that kind of extend out like veins from the city as a kind of outskirts town. You can think like a little like of Carcassonne, but the place, not the game. I'm going to call it a town because I think that is more useful for our purpose. That's sort of what we envision, a very different scale in the modern world when we think about cities. But it's full of winding streets, little small stone buildings, mostly 2 stories, the small castle keep, a marketplace, a small cathedral, population of around 1,000 people. It's nearby enough to the ocean to be a hub for travelers and passing through traders. Beyond the town are these sections of dense trees, kind of forests, intersected with winding rivers and lakes. So we've got all sorts at our disposal in this setting. Our town has been experiencing hard times in recent years, but especially in kind of recent months. Things here and there, harvest gone bad, livestock that's ill or dying, a kind of slew of bad weather. There have been whispers throughout the town of who or what might be responsible for this kind of bad luck. General kind of big misfortunes are not unheard of. Famines, kind of plagues, these things are kind of fairly accepted and not necessarily something that you need an explanation for, but this kind of scale of little bad luck, little things that keep seeming to go wrong, these kind of strings of bad luck is a little more suspect. And in our general fantasy world, we'll say there's also been kind of religious conflicts, changes in systems of belief, new kinds of belief and religious systems in recent years that are kind of cropping up, and a little more uncertainty around what kind of practices count as what kind of magic or what kind of worship. Very kind of loosely defined, so we can play with that as we want to or not, depending on what happens in our story. So our world is, again, fantastical, but at times there's a little contention over what is necessarily good or right. And today, the day that we are starting our story, there's been a kind of flurry of activity because there is a new pamphlet circulating around the town, fresh off the press, and kind of whispers suggesting that there has been some kind of arrest made in regards to the town's misfortune. Everyone is gathered in the market square, the kind of town square. There's a town crier standing in the middle, up on kind of leaning on a statue, calling out that a witchfinder has been summoned to the town. Local people kind of requesting help to send aid to the kind of nearest magistrate, believing that the town might have some kind of malicious force at work beneath all of these various small and slightly larger misfortunes. One supposed witch has already been taken in for questioning. That's what this pamphlet is sort of announcing to the people. Someone who's in custody, but the witchfinder will help find any other colluding witches in time when he arrives. So the 3 of you are all somewhere about in this market square kind of scene. Perhaps you're here because you heard this news starting to circulate. You came to listen. Perhaps you're here for a normal market day and had no idea that this was going to happen. Can you each please describe for me, we've had a little intro to your character already, but give us a moment of what you're doing to kind of introduce why would your character be here today and how are they kind of reacting to the general hubbub of these pamphlets being whisked around and flying around the town square. We'll go. Marcus, do you want to go first this time?
Sure. Quinn was at the marketplace getting various potion supplies and or just stuff, and did not see the pamphlets until they were right in front of the town crier. And it's now like, oh dear, okay.
Amazing. It's kind of a crowd kind of gathered around, some kids kind of running between legs and listening, and everyone's either kind of whispering to each other and kind of reading or looking avidly up at the town crier. So you find yourself kind of amongst a mix of people right front and center. Tielah, What about Raven?
Raven has ventured into the town. She does not live in the town. She lives slightly outside of it, just inside of the woods. She's ventured in for some supplies that she just can't make herself. Very few things that she can't get herself, but she needs a few things from the market. Comes in, she's got her bird on her shoulder, as always, and sees flyers on the ground, and it catches her eye. So she picks one up to look at it and starts to just feel very uneasy and feels the energy of the town square has shifted, and decides that she doesn't want to be noticed today. And she just sort of really gently takes the bird and sort of tucks it under her cloak.
Ooh, okay, I will come back to that in one moment, and we'll have our first roll for today, as we are now in the story world. But first, Leandro, what is Ignatius doing?
Ignacio was just getting into town to sell the fish. He lives in their cabin next to the lake, and for some reason it's very easy for Ignacio to fish. You can walk up to it. And he sees the crowd gathering over some pamphlets and getting closer to the crier, so he gets his curiosity piqued, but it's kind of afraid to be noticed. So he manages to get right in the middle of the crowd to be unnoticed. And as the words start to get said about what's happening, he starts to try to cover his face so as to be one more green spot in the crowd.
Okay, so I'll go to Tielah Raven first with that action. So the system that we are using for our dice rolling today, for any kind of actions that the characters want to take, especially things that will kind of change the direction of the story in some way. So we may not roll for everything, but we broadly have 6 types of kind of core ability. So they fall into 3 categories: mental, physical, and social. And then each of those has 2 different types. So they have what we're calling a force, or a kind of direct ability, and then a flexibility, or a kind of indirect approach. And so within those different abilities, anything that the players want to try and do, they had 36 points to distribute, which would mean they would have a 6 across the board if they had it completely evenly, but they can redistribute those numbers between 2 and 8 as the top. And we are rolling a d10 anytime that you want to try and complete an action. And the idea is that you are trying to roll within your ability. So if you have an 8, you can roll anything from a 1 to an 8. If you've got a 3, you can only roll 1 to 3 for a success. Anything higher than that, it's outside of your ability, and so you can't complete or succeed in that action. The witch side of the character is also a kind of separate component of crafts. So these are kind of knowledge or skill areas that are things you can't necessarily do without training or some kind of preparation or knowledge or learning. And those are a 9, so they're more likely to succeed. The players have all chosen 2 to start with, and they'll tell you when those things come up, when they want to use them. And then we're going to add to that throughout the game, throughout the story, which is the kind of meta mechanic that we'll get into when we get to it. But to start with, Tielah, as Raven is trying to kind of conceal and almost sort of sleight of hand, make herself a little less conspicuous and hide her bird, how would you like to go about that? What kind of role would you like to make, do you think, to see how successfully you can do that?
I think it would probably be a part of the craft, because one of Raven's craft is communicate with animals.
Beautiful. So make your D10 roll for me. We need 9 or less.
9.
Beautiful. Success. So you can kind of carefully conceal. You're very practiced. You've done this before. Anytime you come into town, you're kind of often used to navigating spaces where you have to maybe it's a little conspicuous to have a big bird sitting on your shoulder, so you're kind of used to this activity, and you can do that very smoothly. In the center of the crowd, where our other two witches are, Leandro, you said you wanted to kind of blend in, cover your face, and kind of hide in the crowd a little. How are you going about that? Would you like to make a roll for me?
Yeah, I think I do an adaptability roll.
Okay.
So
cool.
that's an 8. Yes.
Awesome. So this is this is a mental skill, and a kind of flexible approach. So the the ability, we're calling adaptability. So this is being able to kind of think outside the square, think creatively, do things a little differently. Go for it.
And I got a 7.
Awesome. So it's a success. So you're able to kind of think about the energy around you in this kind of square. Think about where people are likely to look, what they're likely to notice, and kind of blend in very carefully to the crowd. Marcus, what do you think that, having ended up kind of front and center, what is kind of Quinn doing to respond to the energy around them?
I think they would just partake in the gossip that is happening. Oh my god, did you hear that, I don't know, this person did that? Gasp. Which I think will charm, potentially?
Yes, yeah, so that's the kind of direct social skill. Go for it.
I got a 6. So,
awesome, and that's out of, what's your...
That is sorry, I have an 8. In the range, yes.
Beautiful, so success. So yeah, you can easily kind of blend in and gossip. You're good at kind of adapting to different social situations and talking to lots of different people in the town from your daily work, so you can kind of quite easily blend in and chat. As you hear these different kind of, all three of you, as you hear these different rumors circulating, you see different people kind of whispering and focusing on different things. As I said, there's a lot of different kinds of misfortune, bad luck that have been kind of happening around the town. Some people are kind of whispering and reading the pamphlets with each other. Some people are kind of shouting out and calling things to each other. It's kind of general chaos, and only maybe about half the audience was kind of hushed enough to listen to the town crier's announcements. But there's a lot of kind of electricity in the air as the news is shared. Can you each tell me one thing that you think that your character would most kind of pick up? What's the kind of thing that you listen out for, or something that would pique your attention of the various things that are floating around? And again, as we are collaborative in storytelling, making these things up as we go, it's kind of like an improv game. Yes and. So anything that we kind of suggest at these points when I throw to the players becomes what's happening, becomes canon, so that's what we're kind of building on. This is not stuff that I've necessarily told them what to say. You can add, change, whatever we kind of go with as we go. I'll start with Raven up the back where you're kind of listening in. What do you hear? What kind of stands out to you?
Raven hears some people talking about the death of some local livestock and cattle. She is very concerned because she knows that they were healthy. She's very aware that they were, this is not a natural thing.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Leandro, what do you...
Being in the middle of the crowd, it's very hard to understand what's happening. So Ignacio gets parts of stuff, so they hear something about cattle, but they also hear about some fires, so he's not sure whether it's talk about a barbecue happening or what's going on. So he's trying to get close to different set of talkative groups to try to see if they can make up what's the fuss about.
Yeah, cool. Awesome. Marcus?
Quid's very concerned about people who are like, I am now sick, I have been cursed, and there's the possibility for future business, and also the possibility that I maybe gave them something that made them slightly sick, because I'm not sure what any of the potions are doing. So we'll roll with it.
Yeah, fair. Beautiful. As you're kind of listening and hearing these different things, another kind of key piece of information ripples through the kind of whispers in the crowd, and the town crier kind of calls out that the person accused of witchcraft who's been kind of taken in for testing so far is Abigail Good, who is an elderly woman. She's known to each of you. So as you hear her name called, can you give me just a moment of memory, something that flashes in your mind when you hear her name? Who is she to you, to your character? What is the connection? Leandro, do you want to go?
Yeah. Ignacio first met Abigail when Abigail was running through the coast of the lake, passing through their cottage house, and they were having one of those moments where magical bursts were happening. So they were dealing with stuff, and they kind of got expelled through a small explosion through the door into the feet of Abigail. So a little moment of panic happened there, where Abigail calmly let them know that, hey, no, that they are not the only ones, and that they were going to help them try to get around this powerful things happening to them, and that they were going to be a helpful hand to them. So that's a very fond and precious memory of a comfort and welcoming for Ignacio as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Marcus.
Quinn remembers that Abigail brought over some cookies and sort of like cookies. Picture like say Tielah-Jade's cookies of spice cakes that are not actually great, but it was a very kind gesture, and this as like a sort of welcome to the town, and Quinn had exchanged some recipes with them as well.
Cool. And Raven, Tielah?
Raven first met Abigail when Raven was a small child in the woods, and Abigail gave her a small iron ring that she wears without fail wherever she goes, because Abigail could sense that as Raven came into her power, she was struggling to contain it. And this ring, she taught her, this is the thing that helps her contain that. So Abigail became a bit of a mentor to Raven throughout growing up.
Beautiful. Is that, you're saying that Abigail said that the ring also helps her, so she's giving it, or she's telling Raven that was what would help Raven?
She's telling Raven that that's what will help her.
I was like, is this a matching ring situation? Okay, cool. Awesome. So you all kind of feel a little nervous. You kind of have this moment of thinking of these kind of positive memories you think of when you think of Abigail. No one's been arrested right now. This is she's been brought in to the castle keep for questioning, for further investigation, and to be kind of checked first when the Witchfinder arrives. So as this is a kind of stressful moment a little bit here, but you've all kind of blended into the crowd okay, or whatever you kind of chose to do to be inconspicuous. What would you like to do as you hear more and more whispers? It seems that the main piece of kind of information has been circulated, and people are now kind of starting to speculate about what they're going to do and what's going to happen. What would all of you like to do? I'll open to whoever wants to go.
I think you Marcus, you go.
No, I had a very vague idea. Please.
I think that when the town cry is finished, Raven can sort of sense that, sort of sense a little bit of power from a couple others in the crowd, can sense the sort of anxiety of others that she knows have magic. It's a different sort of sense. And I think that she would start very inconspicuously sort of looking through the crowd to see if she can try and figure out where those senses sort of pinged from.
Yeah, okay. Did you want to make a roll for that and try and... Is that a kind of ability you want to use, or is that a general... What do you think is most relevant for you to roll for that?
I think that probably falls under, like, I feel like it's a definite thing, like, a lot of witches can do it, but she's especially attuned to it because of her source of power coming from the natural world and life forces of other living things, which is where her sort of power really comes from and originates.
Yeah,
So that's,
absolutely.
yeah.
Is that one of your kind of crafts that you've listed? Something?
It's not one of my crafts. It's the source. So should that be a mental role? Probably.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I think with your either mental ability, I don't mind. Kind of whichever is Raven's kind of vibe.
I think adaptability might be the most applicable. Yeah. Let's do that. Yeah.
Oh yes, I can. Thank you. Oh, I don't know if everyone else can hear Adam saying that. Sorry. Okay.
So that is a 6, so that's within the adaptability.
Awesome. Okay, so you kind of look around the crowd and try to get a sense of where you think maybe these kind of moments of energy are kind of flowing from, and who might be responsible, or who might be kind of connecting to that. I'll say there's quite a lot of people in general that have a little bit of a sense of kind of magic to them. There's a lot of kind of practical magic, kind of cunning crafts that are done in a town like this. A lot of people doing little bits and pieces of, luck charms and all of this sort of thing. That's what Abigail probably mostly kind of dealt in, helping people with finding lost items, kind of things like that. So there's a lot of low-key kind of ripples throughout, but I think you will get a sense from both the other two that are here as the kind of main sources. So would each of you like to describe a little bit of what kind of a sense, what kind of an aura do you think that Raven kind of feels looking around the crowd and feeling both of your magics?
The magic's very object focused, like making like a potion or a pastry or like looking through a tarot deck or something. And so it's less of a like, wow, I'm being observed, more it's like, I feel kind of weird. I better get the rest of my things. Oh no.
Cool.
Ignacio has a similar thing. So when he's dealing with emotions, this kind of auras get dampened. And as he's sitting in the middle of the crowd and trying to understand what people are saying about Abigail, he's getting nervous and trying to attach themselves to different groups. So that social relationship gets them a little bit more nervous. So that's the kind of projections that Raven might be feeling right now.
Awesome. Cool. Is there anything you want to kind of add to that or do with that, Tielah?
Yeah, I as they're trying to insert themselves into a conversation to see what people think Abigail is doing, whether it's a real danger, it's just people in power trying to sow discord between the townspeople. They really want to know what the crowd is thinking. So he tries to insert themselves into conversation through charm.
Yeah, perfect.
I have a 5 on that, so we'll see how that goes. That's an 8. Oh boy.
So yeah, it's a little tricky. There's so much kind of going on around you. There's so many different conversations and kind of tensions, and everyone's kind of turned into their little groups. So it's just a little tricky to sort of slip into any of those conversations without it seeming kind of pretty obvious that it's not necessarily, people seem to be talking to the people they know and not necessarily kind of shouting across general kind of social circles. So it's a little tricky. You can't really discern any more information yet. Tielah, did you want Raven to kind of do anything with that information as she observes this sort of interaction and those feelings from their magics?
I think for Raven right now, she's clocked who they are, and she's sort of storing that to sort of think if she needs it later on.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Marcus, what's Quinn doing?
I think Quinn's very much like, I need to get my things and get out of here at this point. And so goes through the shopping list and maybe makes some mistakes along the way, but gets out of there and starts to head back to the apothecary. I should probably try and read something about this.
Okay, yeah, cool. I will come to a roll in a minute, but what I want to do now is kind of bring us back to reality for a minute. So this is our kind of mechanic in this game. We're going to kind of step out of this realm of imagination, and because this is a moment for these characters of kind of tension, of concern, of new information, new things happening, we're going to use this as a moment to let our reality characters add something to the witches, to the imagination characters. So the way this mechanic works is we're going to pick back up in the story exactly where we left off. This is not a kind of direct, knowingly executed kind of thought process for our reality characters, but for the players, you can choose something that you think the reality character is doing. It could be they're scrolling on TikTok and they see a video about witches cursing the moon, and so they now have the ability to curse the moon, or anything that kind of an ability or a knowledge. Yeah, right. I think that was a thing, right? It was the whole witch stuff. Like, there was something to do with the moon, drawing power from the moon. Maybe it could be anything that you like. That you it was cursing Trump.
The moon with.
Anything that you can think of a kind of reality source for. Could be watching a movie, could be reading a history book, could be anything that you like, could be writing your own fiction, but kind of drawing on something, anything that you think they could connect to that would give them an additional sort of thought in some way about witchcraft, and that will let you add a new ability to your character in the imagination. So it does not matter if these are kind of metagaming, it doesn't matter if you're deliberately thinking of something that would be useful, something relevant to witch finding or anything like that. But it doesn't have to be, it can be whatever chaotic random thought you have, or it can be relevant. So do you want to give you a couple of seconds to think? If anyone wants to jump in, you can describe the moment and then the ability that it gives your character.
I have an idea. Well, Marcus, go ahead.
Joys of video.
Okay. Isaac was watching an episode of Arcane for the umpteenth time, and saw the scene wherein there's a great deal of interplay with like a shattered mirror, and sort of the character like going in and out of that, and ended up going down a rabbit hole of like mirrors and sort of reflection of light and the thing there. And so then Quinn is now able to like sort of divine things from like reflections or rainbows or mirrors or something going around.
Yes. Love that. That's really cool. Amazing. So you can write that down. You can add it to your character sheet if you like, or you can write it down so you know. So that is now a kind of ability that you have a 9 for when you roll something related to that. Awesome. Leandro, you were ready to go?
Yeah, I was ready.
Yeah? Okay.
Because John is doing research, important research in the library with the old books, gloves and all. Focus on the real important stuff. And the real important stuff is how economic gains came from the witch hunts. And one of the biggest issues is that...
Federici. Sorry.
Don't tell me. And he's very in tune with this idea that witches had convincing powers, so they convinced people to sell them their stuff. It was no gain, and it was for their own gain and outside of real economic progress. So there were diminishing economic progress. So through these ramblings of John, Ignacio has the possibility now to, while touching people, convince them or give them an idea of what they are really thinking. And it's a very short period of time, so it doesn't change the person's perception, but it's just enough time to maybe slip away of the conversation or change the topic.
Yeah, awesome. Kind of plant a thought. That's brilliant. I love it. And I don't envy the person that has to mark the essay that John writes about that.
No, definitely not.
Tielah, what about Jenna?
Jenna is sort of thinking up the aspects of this world that she wants to write, and she, in the background, just has some media going. She's watching Charmed in the background, and they start scrolling for other witches and things. So she decides that that's perfect. That's exactly what she needs as an ability. So now Raven can scry for both people and things.
Cool. Is there any kind of specific practice you want to add to how she does that, or is it sort of she can do it?
Yes. So she finds a crystal. You have to use a crystal on a string, and you have to have sort of a map of an area, and it's sort of a mental thing, sort of know what you are looking for to be able to find it, and the crystal will land on the location of that object or person on the map.
Awesome. Cool. Those are great and so interesting. Thank you all so much. So, as your reality characters are kind of thinking about watching, thinking about these kind of different things, each of your witches, we will now go back into our historical imagination, into our story. Each of you, as you are kind of trying to slip away through the market and collect your things, Quinn, Ignacio, as you're trying to kind of listen in, enjoying conversations and feeling a little awkward about how to do that, and Raven, as you're kind of trying to sense the energy of the crowd, you feel you kind of either remember or tap into or think about this other kind of ability that you want to try out at some point that you now know that you possess. So you can each use those things at any time if you'd like. So you see people kind of shouting and moving around you. Marcus, you've already said Quinn is heading back towards I assume their apothecary, having kind of collected their things and trying to get out of there as quickly as possible. You hear a lot of people around starting to make suggestions and potentially kind of sharing theories about who they might kind of connect to Abigail and these kind of different social groups that she might have been in, these kind of rumors running around the streets. And you hear, as you're kind of leaving, Marcus, as you guys are, Quinn is leaving the marketplace, and as you're kind of trying to move around this space, that the town crier then starts to walk along the streets and is going to kind of share this information, and shares that everyone may bring forth any that they suspect of involvement in malicious witchcraft for testing to the Witchfinder tomorrow. And that is what kind of being called out. So the people of the town, your neighbors, might be looking for who they want to kind of get tested, get kind of checked by the Witchfinder. So what would all of you like to do as you kind of start to go about your day with this new tension in the air? You kind of have a sense of who each other are. You have a sense of the kind of general undercurrent of the rumors and the whispers. You all know where Abigail's home was. She kind of lived and worked in the same building. Her shop was on the ground floor, on a kind of little corner of one of the streets. You know where that is, and you each have your own kind of home. What would you like to do as the afternoon continues with this tension in the town?
I start to walk outside of the market square. I want to go home. Ignacio needs to gather their thoughts as to what just happened, what is happening, why they caught Abigail. And they have the feeling that they lended something to Abigail that might or might not lead the witch discoverer hunter to them. So as they walk home, they're trying to remember what's happening. What was that?
Okay. Do you want to make a roll about that, or do you want to? That's kind of something happening in the back of your mind. It's up to you.
No, let's do. I'm guessing willpower to.
Yeah.
That'll
go
be.
About it.
Yeah, that's a 6. So we'll see how that one goes. Oh my God, I got a 10. Complete failure.
Yeah, no idea. every time you try and think about it, your mind kind of loops back to a different memory or a different thought of something else. And as you're walking, you actually you're kind of also sidetracked by realizing there's someone else kind of falling into step, heading the same direction as you out towards the lake, who is kind of carrying what looks like a sort of toolbox or some kind of wooden carrying kit, various kind of work tools, and you kind of out the corner of your eye register that you're kind of going the same way, and you recognize the local carpenter who does lots of kind of bits and pieces jobs around the town, but often does things kind of at the behest of the from the keep, whether that is kind of town upkeep or specific jobs, so the kind of go-to guy, as you're kind of falling in step that he also seems to be heading down towards the kind of lake, the closest lake where you reside. So that kind of captures your attention. You can do something about that if you like, or you can kind of wait and see. It's up to you. So that's you from...
No, I forgot about what I was thinking, and I'm not panicking. Mm-hmm. Are they following me? Is this how I get caught?
Okay.
So I approached them and put my hand on their shoulders and try to convince them that they actually had a job on the other side of town.
Oh, okay. So you can roll that new ability for me. So it's a 9. I actually get you to roll. Our kind of difficulty mechanic in this game is if something is a little harder, you might have to roll multiple dice at the same time. That might be the same ability, or it might be kind of multiple different things that you're having to draw on that have to be successes. So I'm just going to get you to roll 2 of the same, but both need to succeed because he has a specific job that he knows he's meant to do. So it's a hard kind of plant. But you have a 9, so you need 2 successes.
Okay. I got a 5 on the first one, so good. And a 6, safe. All
right, yeah. So what do you kind of say as you put your hand on his shoulder? What do you want to...
I put my hand on his shoulder and say, "Oh, are you coming this way? You talked to me yesterday. You said that it was on the farm. What's the name of the farm? That's right outside of town. On the other side, like going to next city. You're going the way of the lake. You're going the way of the lake. Right. Yeah, that one.
Yep.
Yeah. You're going towards the lake. Why? It's the other way. Don't worry. Just you might want to rush because it's kind of getting late."
Yeah. Would you like to, is optional, would you like to also make one of the social roles about how smoothly you kind of integrate this into a normal moment that isn't going to kind of stand out in his memory? So he's not going to know that you did the kind of magical effect of that one.
But the encounter,
The encounter, in a moment where you're trying not to be kind of suspicious. Do you want to make...
Yeah, I'll go with Guile because it's my higher from the 2, which is a 6.
Yeah.
It's not a great, but we'll see.
But it's the kind of flexible, bit slippery.
Yeah, that's a 3. I'm safe.
Beautiful, within your ability. So you make this such a kind of casual, normal-seeming moment between fellow townsfolk where you're just reminding him of something, and it kind of seems like he doesn't really take a lot of notice of that as a kind of standout moment as he turns around and starts heading the other way. Raven, what are you doing as the town, the kind of focus of the market starts to disperse around you, but people are still whispering and talking? You see the other 2 have both kind of headed off out of the market square to do different things. What would you like to do?
I think Raven is going to try to go to Abigail's house. I think that Abigail is probably the only person ever that she would go out of her way to help, and she's very concerned that Abigail has been taken in. So I think that she's going to sort of surreptitiously leave the main area and head towards the house. And in her little bag, she already has the crystal and map that she'll need to look if she needs at Abigail's house. Absolutely.
So, you kind of head that direction. I think Probably Quinn. That's sort of, it's a similar direction, a kind of main little sort of section of streets where there's sort of more of the markets and trade. So it's probably near where your apothecary is too. So you can kind of be heading in a similar direction. So Raven, you kind of approach a little street corner store. So it's the sort of pointy end around a kind of hairpin turn as you come down the hill, and then it kind of slopes around further down on the other side. So the kind of top side of her house, it's 2 stories. You kind of, as you come down the slope, you're kind of looking at the sort of top side. You go round to go in on the bottom floor, on the sort of lower side of the slope. As you walk past on that kind of top side, you see a little kind of shrine, a little statue of bronze that's in the wall, and has a sort of particular area somewhere on it that is sort of especially shiny. It's sort of something that people touch for luck as they walk past. Do you want to describe what little statue it might be? What is it a statue of? It doesn't have to be just connected to Abigail. It can be anything that you like. What do you think our town would have as a little lucky symbol of some kind?
I think that it is a statue of a very typical Judeo-Christian angel.
Ooh,
so wings, quite ethereal, and the point of touch it is sort of the like the head where the typical like the halo would be.
Yeah. Beautiful. It kind of shines as the sunlight comes in as it's set in the afternoon. Lovely. So you walk past this little statue and around to the entrance to the ground floor. So the ground floor is kind of shop. The ground's quite uneven. You sort of step down and into, it's a very sort of worn little section of the cobblestone, kind of man-made little path. Kind of around the corner. So she lived here with her husband for many years. He was a kind of local cunning man as well. He was especially sought after for sort of practical magic, things to do with things being lost or found, seeking buried treasure. These sorts of requests was his sort of speciality. But he passed away a number of years ago, and she sort of kept living here by herself as a widow. She doesn't pay a huge amount of tax or anything like this to the city because she has a kind of a half, but she's not particularly well off. She does a lot of trade in kind of favors and goods as opposed to necessarily just for coins. So you can see in through the window, a glass window, into the store before you actually enter the kind of eclectic accumulation of different items, things she's been traded for various jobs and favors and things like that. So she's got lots of bits and pieces around. You notice the door is not quite latched. It's kind of bumping a little in the wind as it sort of swings in the breeze, which is not out of the ordinary. If she was here, she always has her door kind of open, but there's a sort of sense of quiet inside that no one's currently there. What would you like to do?
I think that the first thing that she would do is look for any signs of distress, whether it was quite a, forced capture or whether it was like genuinely like she is just being taken in to talk to them.
Yeah. So you kind of enter and see like a cold cup of tea on the little table in the corner, a kind of half-eaten bowl of porridge. But it sort of has more, I think, a sense of someone sort of leaving in a hurry and not really having a chance to gather their things and finish up their kind of morning rituals for the day before they left, rather than a kind of turned over effect. But a lot of the shop is pretty chaotic. She has so many kind of bits and pieces. So if you want to kind of try and look for a pattern to discern if anything's been taken or anything like that, what kind of role do you want to make for that to sort of really have a closer look? You've been here enough, so you kind of know it, but it's always different.
I imagine that would be an adaptability role, I think. Yeah.
Looking for those kind of patterns and things, yeah.
Yeah, that's a 4. That's within.
Beautiful. So you kind of look around. You see most things look like they're kind of in the place that you're kind of used to seeing them. There looks like there's some things from maybe the kitchen that have been the kind of little nook in the corner that's got a cauldron, which is not necessarily a witchcraft sign. They are just what people cooked in. And a few little things there. You see dried herbs and things. It looks like maybe there's some things missing. You can't place exactly what, but it looks like maybe some things have been kind of grabbed and taken with them. And you kind of look around the rest of the space. It doesn't look like a lot of things are necessarily sort of broken or damaged in any way, but there are sort of a couple of spots that you notice that it does look like things have been kind of picked up and taken. You see one spot that has a kind of dust ring, that something round had been sitting like a little stand on one of the shelves, and something that's normally there, and you can see that something's been kind of picked up. And you notice looking around that she has a kind of bag, woven kind of fabric bag she uses when she's kind of out and about, that she strings over her shoulder, and that's not hanging on the back of the door. So it looks like things have been kind of taken with her perhaps when she left, or someone's come and taken things afterwards. You're not sure. But yeah, there's no signs of struggle, and nothing has been kind of damaged. So you get the sense from that, kind of making those connections with that role, that it's probably someone that she knew, or probably something she knew was happening. She was kind of told and she grabbed things, or perhaps she was kind of escorted quickly and then someone else grabbed them on her behalf. But there's no sort of sense of physical forceful action that's happened in the space. Marcus, as you're kind of walking back to your apothecary, you can head straight there if you like, but I think you probably go past this kind of corner. If you would like to do anything, or you are beelining it straight home, it's up to you. But I see you kind of, Raven's ducked inside, so you notice the door swinging in the breeze, but you probably wouldn't see her. She's kind of in the shadows inside, unless you kind of stop and look. You're welcome to.
I'm intrigued. I'm like, oh boy, uh-oh. And so I have my arms full of groceries, and I just like stop, and then I see Raven inside. I'm like, interesting. Why don't I do the same thing? And so I duck in as well. And like, hello. How are you?
For the purposes of like roleplay mechanics, however you want to do this, you're welcome to talk in first person as your characters. You can also just kind of third person say, I say hi, and do a bit of idle chit chat or something, or kind of describe what happened without having to act out every moment. Don't.
It says hi.
It's up to you. Yeah.
There's some idle chit chat.
Sure. Is there anything that you're kind of looking out for, anything that you want to kind of specifically do, or are you just kind of chatting to see what Raven's up to? What's your
chatting to see what Raven's up to, and I also want to see if there are any recipe books around, because I have none, and that would be very helpful to not just be like, why don't I throw some of this in, and we'll see what that does.
Yeah, absolutely. Up to you what kind of role you want to make for looking around. I'll get you to make probably a adaptability role, is try and recall from your kind of memories and bits and pieces of information about Abigail in your mind what you might be looking for as well. So if you want to make that roll first.
I have an 8 in that, so let's see.
Nice.
Oh, I got a 9.
Oof. Yes, it's a big day. So you're trying to think, you're like, did she ever write stuff down? Could she write and read? Because not everyone can. Like you kind of get yourself sidetracked on a couple of trains of thought as you try and remember whether or not you are looking for a particular thing or not. There's like something in one of the bags that you feel like is a little bit wet, like your hand's kind of under the paper bag and so like that distracts you for a second. So yeah, you can't recall anything in particular, but you can still look if you would like to have a look around you.
I'll take a look, and also this is I feel like I'm there myself. It happens a lot when I'm looking for something. Like, wow, really all the things. I decided to have a look around, and just I see most of the same things that Raven does, probably.
Yeah.
Not quite to the same degree, but just like, wow.
Looking for a book or a kind of recipes or that sort of thing. If you want to roll something to specifically look for that in the space, go for it.
Let's see.
So this is one of those ones, that kind of depends on your character's approach. If you're kind of take it face value, kind of look around you, a kind of direct thinking person, you can do it as a kind of willpower. If you're someone that's a bit more of a chaotic kind of indirect sort of thinker, but you get to things by kind of trains of thought, then you can use adaptability. So most things you can kind of, it sort of depends which of those roles is more relevant to how your character thinks.
Go with adaptability, because I also have a higher score in that.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Not that it helped last time, but, you know. So, that is a 6, so we're good.
Nice. Yeah, cool.
I've succeeded.
Yeah, so you notice the same sort of thing first as you glance over towards the kind of cooking pot and the little sort of kitchenette type area, that it looks like some things that you kind of recognize where there was a sort of herb drying kind of hanging on the roof, and that's not there. Like a couple of things that you remember being there that aren't there. So you kind of drift over there and have a look there first. So it seems like the most kind of relevant place. And you do see, as you kind of look around, there is kind of in the back of a sort of shelfy cupboard, kind of shoved in the back, there's a sort of stack of parchment that look like kind of recipe instructions. It's fairly original and creative in terms of the way it's recorded. So she definitely was writing for herself. There's sort of drawings, there's words that don't quite make sense, and you think she probably didn't actually know the name of that vegetable. She sort of just wrote something that describes it to her. So you'll have to kind of interpret these a little, but it looks like a kind of stack of sort of single pages that she would take out when she was maybe making something and kind of clip up. But you also notice as you look there that there is, again, a kind of dust mark of where there is normally a kind of fairly hefty sort of book that sits on that shelf over near the kind of food and kitchen area that is not there. Definitely kind of.
Would it behoove me to take these recipes as like so that no people can be like, wow, clearly Abigail was poisoning everyone?
Yeah.
Or
are you asking me, or are you asking Raven in
the group? And Raven, probably.
Yeah, you're very welcome to talk to each other as players as well. I think the decision here for any of these things is which things might make you yourself more potentially suspicious, or might, you know, if someone searched your house and you had them, or if you're kind of able to take blame away from other people, or how you kind of navigating that be your main questions. It's up to you.
Tielah, Raven seems to have known Abigail better than Quinn would. What would your thoughts on the matter be?
I think Raven would be very weirded out a person trying to take things from this empty house, but
so real.
at that same point, she is not socially like adept enough to articulate that, and is just sort of like, yeah, that's fine.
I feel like Quinn would maybe have it cross their mind like, wow, recipes, but also realizes they cannot read these, and so you can try.
It's just that they're not kind of immediately kind of straightforward. You can definitely add that
kind of how Quinn's been operating
anyway.
with here's how Quinn's been operating with like the divining things already. So it's like this probably would get the same results as what they've already been doing.
Fair.
I'm going to leave him there.
Okay, sure.
So, Raven is relieved.
Good.
She did not expect to be in a room with a random person, and she has absolutely clocked that. She has absolutely clocked that you are magical as well, so she doesn't really know how to approach that. So she's just kind of awkwardly doesn't quite want to start scrying yet, but needs to bring it up somehow, and she doesn't know how to do that.
Quinn has no idea.
Does she still have a raven under her cloak?
Yeah, she sure does.
Cool. So just sort of patiently.
I do think the raven would start popping its head out. It's been quite a while.
Yeah.
Also, I can imagine just standing in a house going like, yes.
Oh yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, well, it's up to you how you. But just a reminder that they're kind of under there.
I think at hearing them conversing, the raven, not like a normal bird raven, very so can sense the magic and can sense the tension, I think, jumps out and sort of waddles across the counter to sort of look at Quinn.
Peak jump scare moment for Quinn. Standing, and I feel like, black bird, like black kind of robes, like it really, a bird appears from like nowhere and then immediately is on the table and looking at you.
At this point, like my grocery bags are kind of like heavy and getting a little bit, you mentioned there's something like damp looking, I was like, okay, I think this is my cue to leave. Goodbye.
Sure.
Exit the store.
Yes. Can you also make me, so another mechanic in this game, mostly for the World Weaver for me, but players can kind of call on as well, is kind of likelihood rolls. So that's things that, if you don't necessarily want to feel like you're kind of steamrolling something and making something happen, but there's the things that might happen in the world, and you can kind of assign a likelihood out of 10 and roll for it. So, Marcus, can you make me a likelihood roll on if it happens to be a day where you've got some deliveries or some specific kind of customers that you know you need to go and attend to?
Do I have to roll a certain thing, or can I just...
Oh, yes, it's a 50-50 this one, so 1 to 5 means it is a day that you need to do that.
Mm-hmm. That is a 6, so I do not.
You don't have, you kind of think about it as you start to leave, you're like, have I forgotten anything that I need to do? I'm not really sure. And you're kind of walking and thinking about that. And just, Raven, are you kind of staying in the shop or also going to make your way somewhere else now?
I think that she's going to watch where Quinn goes, like from the window. But I think she's going to stay in there to scry and just confirm that Abigail is where they've said that she is, in the barracks or wherever they said she was.
Mm-hmm. As you're watching Quinn and kind of thinking about how you're going to do this magic, how much attention are you kind of paying to the rest of the world around you? Is it you sort of focused a little, or do you think she's still kind of...
I think this has thrown her. I think she's probably quite focused on Quinn.
Yeah, cool. So as you kind of wait and watch out the window, and Marcus, as you kind of start to walk away, Raven, you see, looks like a small girl, sort of mousy kind of brown hair. She looks maybe like 10 or 12 years old. She's wearing kind of average clothes, kind of browns and greens. Doesn't have any shoes on. And she kind of comes up behind you, Quinn, as you're starting to walk away, and like kind of tugs on your cloak. And you see, you get the sense, this kind of comes out of nowhere, Raven, as you're watching. You didn't notice where she was, but it looks like she was kind of, she just sort of stepped out of nowhere. She was somewhere nearby, maybe watching or waiting, but you hadn't sort of noticed her. She kind of comes up to you, kind of tugs on your cloak, Quinn, for you to turn around, and so she wants to talk to you.
Okay.
Hi, well, my name is Mary. I was learning with Miss Abigail, and she sort of points towards the house that you just came out of, how to do some of the potions. The simple, the normal stuff, nothing bad and nothing fancy. Why? Because are you friends with her? I came here this morning, and then there were lots of people walking around everywhere, and I saw people kind of walk away with her, but she didn't even look at me. But I know that she saw me, that I was there. And are you friends with her? And you see she's kind of holding something like quite kind of close to her chest, like she's kind of got her arms around her, and you guess there's possibly something kind of underneath. She's kind of concealing something, but you're not sure what. What would you like to do?
Okay. Oh boy. Can I... The immediate thing goes to my head. I'm like, oh no, is the small child gonna? If I say yes, will the small child like go and tell people about this?
Yeah. You can make a roll if you want to try and like read the vibes somehow.
Yeah, I'd like to read the vibes.
Yeah. Probably like a guile roll.
Yeah, I have a 5 for that. We'll see how it is. Oh dear.
Make it charm if you want to try and talk to her a little bit. You don't have to act it out. Up to you.
I'm gonna go with guile. I have a 5. I rolled a 7, so it did not work.
Cool. Yeah, it is.
Womp womp.
It's hard to tell. She looks kind of just a little bit anxious and a little bit worried. You don't know how long she's been maybe kind of waiting here for someone to come by, or what. You just can't really tell what the vibe is or what information she has. So it's hard to tell what she would do with new information.
I'm going to say that, like, people knew Abigail around town, so I can probably be like, yes, I knew. I knew Abigail. I was friendly with her. Or Quinn says, sorry, I'm flipping between first and third person. Quinn's like, yes, I knew Abigail. That's a defendable enough claim just to be like,
yeah,
she lived in our town, yes.
Okay. How are you, what's your kind of tone here? Are you trying to sort of be friendly? As she's a kid, are you kind of trying to be a little bit not too kind of involved? What's the kind of vibe you're wanting to give off? And you can roll for something if you want to.
Friendly. I think Quinn's very, is sort of in customer service, essentially. So just basically like, yes, of course, I'm going to be generally in that mode. Yeah.
Do you want to roll a charm for me? See how kind of at ease generally if she kind of is.
I rolled a 0.
So a 10.
Which means that yes.
Yeah.
Womp womp.
Yeah, you see she's like, that's okay. That's fine. Okay, a good day. And she kind of tries to back away from you, and you see like whatever she's kind of holding to her chest, she sees she sort of moves a little awkwardly, like she's going to drop something or something's kind of moving, and she's going to try and go straight back she's going to go towards the house, which Raven is where you are. So you see she's kind of backing away from Quinn and going towards the door. Would you like to do anything? You're kind of standing in the middle of the room in there if she's heading towards you.
I think that she would go to the door and try and invite the child in. I think that she can recognize a lot of the same vulnerabilities in the child that she is familiar with her relationship with Abigail. Mm-hmm. So I think that she'll try to look after the child.
Beautiful. Make me a social roll, whichever. Probably charm but whichever you kind of feel appropriate.
Okay.
It's still kind of socializing.
Yeah.
That's how it goes.
No, you're right. Yeah, that did not work.
Yeah. That's all right. So secondary from that, can you make me your animal communicating kind of craft ability, please?
Yeah. That one is within, yes.
Cool. So
I got a 1. Yeah.
So as she kind of comes up to the door, you see this moment.
Good.
As you kind of open the door, it is good. It's very within your ability. There's this kind of, and Marcus Quinn is kind of watching this from behind now. As she's kind of gone up to the door, you see the door. Raven kind of opens the door and tries to greet her with what is a very kind of terrifying visage to the small child who's come up to the door expecting no one to be in there. And there's this kind of shadowy woman who kind of steps out. And you see this kind of moment of. And she kind of squeezes her arms a little, and you see a cat kind of dart out from underneath, like she was kind of bundling up and holding a cat in her arms. And Raven immediately is like, oh, cool. That I can do. Not children, but animals. And you see this kind of, you have this immediate sort of connection. You reach out with that magical ability to the cat, and you see instead of, it kind of drops to the ground and like, kind of on its feet, kind of panicked, but then immediately sort of seems to like calm as it looks up at you and like wraps its around your feet and kind of looks up at you like, yeah, this is cool. And you see the little girl kind of like a sigh of relief from the initial panic as like the pet thinks you're good. You're probably all right. So what would the two of you like to do?
I would like to pet the cat, of course. And then I think that, like, not even looking at the girl, like Raven's fully focused on the cat now. It's just like ask, like, is everything all right? Like, is the cat okay? Do you need help? Like, what do you need?
And she kind of explains to you this is Abigail's cat, sort of. It's kind of the like street but mostly Abigail's cat, and people would think of this cat as like Abigail's cat, and that she knows that people talk about all sorts of weird things to do with familiars, and she doesn't know if it's a spirit or like a person or like just an animal or like a magic animal. She kind of goes through this like kind of confusion about what actually it is, but she knows, she's kind of clung onto this, like she knows that familiars is a kind of important thing. And she kind of tells you she lives down by the lake. She kind of lives outside the town, and she walks in every day, but she saw the cat kind of on the street when she was seeing Abigail kind of walked off with people this morning, which she told Queen about a minute ago. But so she kind of scooped him up to make sure that they didn't think that Abigail had some kind of evil familiar, just in case, because he's a really good cat and he didn't do anything wrong. And she kind of tells you this, and she didn't know what to do, and she says, well, I didn't know if I should take him home because, like, what if he's just a person? But I also didn't know if I should leave him here or take him. I thought I could take him to the church because he'd be safe there, but then what if he's a spirit? That might be bad. And you see this kind of logic of the like effect of not really understanding how this magic works, but knowing that it's important somehow. And so that's why she's done this, and she's looking to you, and she kind of turns around and looks like over her shoulder at Quinn kind of awkwardly, and then back to you, as this kind of like,
point,
my
groceries are just
abandoned.
like, yeah.
Yeah. This is like, there's adults in the situation who can deal with this now. And she's kind of giving you this, like, tell me, what do I do? Kind of a key logic.
Okay, so she's heard this and has taken in enough information to understand, like, why the cat's not hurt. It's okay. Like, it's fine. And I think that she'll sort of crouch down, hold her hand out for the cat's inspection, and the cat puts its paw on her hand. And can Raven sense what type of familiar that is potentially using that communicate with animals? Sense?
Yeah. I'm gonna say Raven is the kind of animal-y, like, expert here. What kind of vibe do you think? Tielah, as one of the storytellers, or you can think about what does Jenna think familiars are? What do you think? You tell me. What's the vibe on this creature? What do you want it to be?
Oh, pressure. I think that what Jenna believes familiars are, on the most part, so those other sorts of familiars do exist, that spirits, people that can shapeshift, they do exist, but by far probably the most common familiar is a witch who has lived as a human and is now permanently, like, their spirit is in this animal. So that's what she can sense from this cat.
Amazing. You kind of see, like, sort of flashes of, like, memory a little, as well, as you kind of make this, like, magical connection of the sort of human life that maybe was lived before this person was a cat. You see images of, like, the lake down near the town, and the little buildings down there, like, that was where they used to live, or they had some kind of connection to the water, but now they're a cat, so no thank you. But they still can do the route, like, up and back, and walk with this little kind of apprentice girl. Kind of, you see a few flashes of, like, walking next to someone, maybe someone who was walking with a child when they were a human, but now it's kind of a cat winding through her feet as she walks. She kind of accompanies this child back down to outside the village and back up to this street corner, this kind of well-worn route of all the houses that will give cat treats and such on the way. But you see these little flashes of these memories, and yeah, you can tell this is a reincarnated, or sort of a used to be a witch, used to be a person, is now a familiar.
I think I see Raven sees that and sort of smiles and looks up to the girl and said, this is not an evil creature. It has a lot of knowledge and has lived both as a human and an animal, and it wants to take care of you and the other kids in the town. So you don't have to worry about this cat. it can look after itself.
So I shouldn't take it home, or I should take it home?
It might walk with you home, but you don't have to take it home. It can live by itself.
Okay. And I should go home, or I should stay? I should go home.
You should go home.
You see this like, what am I supposed to? Cool. Yeah, she kind of nods. She starts to walk off and looks down at the cat. In a kind of, are you gonna walk with me? What would Raven want to do? Does she want to kind of encourage this cat to walk with the girl home, or does she want to talk to it or kind of keep it here for some reason?
I think she can sense that this cat it's not like it wouldn't know anything about Abigail that she doesn't. I think that she can sense that it's more a community cat that Abigail could also sense is a very special animal. So she sort of reaches into her little pouch and pulls out a handful of meat chunks that are like specifically for like treats.
Yes, she's ready.
And I think she hands one to the cat and then puts some in the hand of the girl and says, "You can give him these."
Cute. She like looks up at them. It's like, okay, like this sort of moment of like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Okay, and it's like silence starts to kind of looking much more relieved than before. Is going to start walking down through the town, accompanied by this cat. So before we kind of shift to that, would you like to do, as she has kind of left and you're alone in this room, would you like to do the scry ability that you wanted to use, Tielah?
Yes, I will, yes.
Yeah, so what are you're looking for where she is now? That's your kind of...
And I want to confirm that she is where they say she is, because I think Raven is still very concerned about the well-being of Abigail.
Perfect, yeah. So roll your, 9 out of 10. You got to get 9 or under.
Yeah, I got 1.
Oh, nice. Again, easily within your ability, you kind of... lay out your kind of little map or drawing of the town area and use your crystal, and it very easily and quickly kind of locates right on that, the center of the kind of castle keep. That is a kind of courtyardy area. There's a sort of town halls. You can't tell exactly which, but it's that kind of central, open sort of space. Unless something's happening, the gates are generally open to people to kind of travel in and out and go and seek audience and things like that. So you can sort of locate her there somewhere. You don't get the sense that she's sort of like trapped in a dungeon dark underground or anything like that. So you feel kind of at ease that she's there, but it doesn't feel sort of foreboding to you as you do your scrying. So I'll come back to that in a moment, and we'll leave there. So Marcus is Quinn. What's heading back to the apothecary?
Yes, my arms are so tired. I need to put this bag down, please.
I will then move us down towards the lake, but first, do you want to, as you get back to your apothecary, kind of on the way, you see this girl walking down through the street. Did you want to do any kind of sort of magical, divination-y, potion-y, anything as you first get back to do with this kind of situation? It's okay if not.
I'm going to be like, well, I have these things. Let me try and see let me try and scry and make a potion, see if like something's...
Cool. Okay, so it's like... something that would be useful? You're kind of trying to divine what would be useful to make? Yeah, awesome. Go for it. Roll that craft for me.
I got a 9, so right on the edge of the ability.
Yeah, beautiful. So you, what kind of divination are you using to work out what to put in your potion? Do you think the tarot cards or the?
Yeah, we do some tarot. We'll do, and if there's like a mirror, I'll be like, ooh, shiny. And I got some of this and some of that. I'm like, oh wow, the Knight of Cups, and 3 of those and 2 of that, and just kind of be like, we'll see what this does.
Beautiful. We love props. Yeah, you see as well, like, as you're kind of laying these out and doing the kind of sort of reading for yourself and sort of pulling cards kind of chaotically, but you do see maybe like a few flashes in the mirror of the sort of reverse sides of the cards and things like, angles of the cards and things like that gives you a little extra insight as you're kind of making this potion. And you can kind of jot down in your mind. You've got a potion that I will let you kind of work out what you think it is useful for at some point. It's possible you don't even really know yet. That you know, Quinn knows that this is going to be useful, but or you could kind of know what it is if you like, but you can kind of keep that in your mind that you've got that as a resource. At some point,
I'm gonna say it's useful. It's blue. I could mean like I could throw it in ice, or it could be something. It could be Gatorade. I've made fantasy Gatorade. I don't know.
We'll find out.
It will come in handy at some point.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll follow this little girl and the familiar down through the town and towards the lake, which is where Ignacio is heading already back to his home, and the carpenters turned around and gone the other way. There's kind of general people kind of dispersing back out through, and you see, I think you kind of notice her, and you probably sense a little bit of the magic kind of wafting around the familiar as well, because that kind of bond has just been made with Raven that kind of sparked it a little. So maybe you get a little bit of a sense of that. You're kind of very good at sort of reading people. So you've seen Abigail with this girl. Sorry, my light keeps making my face glow. You've seen Abigail with this girl, so you kind of notice her as she goes home a little way, kind of before the lake, one of the little houses kind of near the water, near to yours, and then you can head to your house. What would you like to do?
As everything was going on, I've been pantsing up and down, trying to remember what was the thing that I forgot. In the middle of this, I find myself 4 steps into the lake, and that's when I noticed the kid. And then, as I noticed the kid, I notice I'm 4 steps into the water, and that might be a dead giveaway, so I try to run back. So I'll try to do a what was it? Fortitude roll to see if I.
Yeah, sure.
Because I'm in my own head at this point. Yeah. I'm deep in my own head. I haven't noticed. I'm in the almost into the lake, so I'm trying to figure out how am I.
So your physical skills, your fortitude is the kind of like strength, constitution, direct kind of stuff, and then nimbleness.
Because I'm trying to run out of the water.
Are you trying to be kind of quick and not noticed? Like that's the kind of.
No, I'm just frantically trying to run away from being standing on the lake.
You could use whichever of those.
I'll just for fun, I'll do 42, which is the lower one, which is a 4.
Okay.
I got a 5. Pretty close.
Pretty close. But yeah, you got a lot going on kind of mentally as you sort of think about this, all these different things that are happening. And so you're trying to kind of hold it together and very like strongly and purposefully move back towards the ground and make sure this wasn't kind of noticed and didn't look weird. As you look up and kind of look around you notice the girl. She doesn't necessarily seem to have really clocked that. You think maybe she's actually kind of, that doesn't seem that weird. But you do see a couple of people that are kind of standing nearby on the kind of closest bit of street where you can kind of look down towards the lake. Not kind of right there, but you see a group of sort of 3 people that are like dead eye contact looking at you.
I am panicking. And I start to shout as if I'm, oh no, I fell into the lake. I was going for fish. So I kind of sit. I'm standing, so I'm trying to sit like as if I'm, and try to move. Sitting, while sitting, try to move to the shore.
Okay. You can roll a physical skill if you'd like, and then I think a social charm or something to pull that off.
I'll do a nimbleness because this is a little bit more of a stealth thing.
Great.
I'm picturing those like small children with like the sort of like floor tiles on wheels in like gym class. And, like this might be a US. I'm not entirely sure, but then just like scooting around on like wheels.
Yeah.
Kind of that thing. Yeah. So that's a 7 for that I have to be 4, and I got a 4. So I'm managing to go.
Yep.
All the while.
You pulled off the kind of maneuver that could look legit. So then, which are you gonna charm or guile for?
I'll go with guile. Trying to. My guile is a 6. So oh boy, 8. I rolled an 8.
Yeah. Physically, you kind of manage the kind of tricky maneuver of attempting to land carefully and look like you meant to do it. But the sort of performance alongside that of the oh no, you sort of get the sense that
oh my.
possibly
have fallen.
shouting. Yeah, possibly shouting about it actually drew more attention.
Yeah.
You kind of see a couple of like heads look out of nearby windows, and you've drawn more attention than you had before. You're no longer on the water, so you're not doing a kind of suspicious thing right now in this moment, but like probably about 10 or 15 people are kind of looking over now as you've attempted to play that off.
This is great for my nerves. This is great for my nerves.
What would you like to do?
As I see all this attention, I start to get up, and I'm like, oh, thank you. I needed help. You came to help. The whole crowd? Or yeah.
Like, okay.
just random.
Just watching. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I forgot something on the squares. I realized I forgot my fishing rod in the square.
In the town? Yeah, okay.
In the town square. That's why I fell, and because I tried to grab a fish with my hands. Yes.
All right, give me. It's got to be a double as well. So you can do the same. Two social. It can be whichever two.
I think this is a guile thing.
Sure. Yeah.
Both. So that's a 6. Okay. First one is saved. That's a 4.
Okay.
And that's a 1. Oh my god, I'm such a good actor.
Alright, yeah. With the most kind of absurd series of like half-truths about your morning to try and play this off. And I think that, the people around this area are pretty used to seeing you fishing, seeing you doing things. They're kind of, that seems legit. That seems kind of, it's been a weird day. And often people kind of want to they want something to be normal. And so if there's a reasonable thing they can kind of cling to, that's sort of easier than having to make a sort of tough decision maybe about what to do about this weird moment. They can kind of be like, never mind, everything's fine. I don't have to think about that. And you manage to play that off and kind of tap into that feeling.
As a side note, I cannot believe that worked.
I know. When I saw the 4, I was like, oh, that was close. Then the 1, I was like, yes.
So yeah, you've played that moment off okay, you think, but there's definitely still people kind of around, and the implication of your story was kind of that you were going to go get your fishing rod, maybe? Yeah. Or so what would you like to? What do you want to do? Or you can just go into your home and kind of.
No. I have to. I've seen this is too many people for my taste. Too close to my house. I have to keep my word, and so I go back into town. And midway through this, I remember I was thinking about the Abigail house, so I might just drop by and say like,
sure.
Once I'm outside of eyesight, I change course and try to get to.
Sure. As players, we'll go to a reality in a minute. But as players, what do you think the kind of afternoon holds for? So we can skip to the kind of next morning, the next thing happening. If each of your characters is kind of trying to lay low, and maybe we'll do one roll to determine kind of what you do for the next little while, or do you have kind of big plans for like this afternoon before the Witchfinder arrives? What are you thinking?
I feel like it might behoove us to like have our characters meet up and be like, okay, what are we? What's gonna happen?
Sure. Yeah. Cool. I was gonna throw you together either way, but if you think that's so.
We're like all heading to Abigail's house anyways.
Yeah, or
like around that area.
You're kind of nearby, and you sort of see maybe you kind of catch sight of I keep wanting to say John Ignacio kind of walking past, and you're sort of still thinking back about your weird social interaction with Raven, and now you've kind of got your groceries home. You're kind of like, and maybe I should go back and maybe we should game plan like a little bit. And so you all kind of head back and happen to sort of meet just after Raven's finished this scrying ritual and kind of packed it up. The three of you all kind of converge on Abigail's house. You do not have to roleplay the whole thing out. You can if you would like to. What are you all kind of bringing up? What are you discussing?
I think it's a good point to just like kind of make it let it happen. Like Quinn has dropped their stuff at home. I managed to not make a fool of myself somehow, a little bit. And Raven has finished the the little thing. So maybe that's the moment where that's my idea.
I think that she is concerned. She's a little more at ease about Abigail's well-being, but still doesn't like that they've taken her in, and her only human ally is no longer within reach. I think that she does feel a little bit of a need to maybe connect with these other magic users.
The Quins just said, like, that was an interesting interaction with a small child. I should go double check and make sure that, like, they're not still around and, like, confused. And then be like, oh my goodness, hello, other people.
Yeah, beautiful. I think everyone roll me something for probably mental, but you could do it as social maybe. Kind of thinking about what you know about Witchfinders, what you know about what might be happening in the next sort of day or two. So you get a bit of a sense. What you can be trying to recall personal memories. You could be trying to recall things you've read about. You can just be trying to vibe it of what you just make a kind of informed guesses. Tell me what you're rolling, and we'll see what kind of information you have. Or you can roll a social if you want to kind of wander the nearby. We don't have to role play it, but kind of wander around and ask people and do something like that. You can also do that if you would like to.
I roll for a like scrying or like a divination. They're like, what is the Witchfinder's intent? Like, why are they here?
Yeah. Give me a divination craft.
I'm gonna go with the mirrors this time because we did tarot.
Oh yes.
Potion.
Beautiful. You kind of uncover like a beautiful, ornate, very faded, scratched mirror in
dramatically. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, and Abigail. I rolled a 2, so that's within the realm of things.
Amazing. Okay. I'll get each of you to roll, and then I'll kind of come back to what we know in case of sort of crossover.
I think that I'll roll willpower.
Okay, yeah.
Just to sort of like, this is very hard for her. I feel like this is, she's struggling.
Yeah, it's kind of shit thing to think about. There's also sort of pushing through any of the kind of motions to actually try and be like, what are the facts?
Yeah. If I have an 8 willpower, I got 10.
Oh yeah, no, it's a rough time. We'll come back to it. Ignacio, what are we rolling?
I roll adaptability because I'm trying to I blend on a couple backgrounds to see what's happening.
Yeah.
That's an 8, then I got a 9. Fantastic.
Oof, again, yeah. So both of you are kind of trying to think and really think about things that you know. It's not necessarily a super duper common or well-known thing. It's kind of a recent trend that this has sort of started emerging, that people think there's ways that they can sort of test whether or not people have this sort of malicious type of magic, or that they kind of have this ill intent, which you're not really sure. You're kind of thinking about it, everything that you try and sort of connect the dots about. For both of you, it feels sort of just a little bit overwhelming, a little bit confusing. It's really hard to get kind of clear facts on that. But fortunately, you also have a kind of different kind of magic on your side. So you look over at Quinn, kind of laying out the things around the mirror, maybe a little kind of rituals. You're sort of looking into the mirror and trying to divine what's going to happen. And I think you have some kind of flashes of, like you see in the mirror, a man in a nearby town. You kind of recognize similar buildings, but not this town. And that they're sort of doing two kind of main things to sort of test. So there's some kind of test they're doing to do with the sort of marks that witches have on their bodies, some kind of like poking at it. You can't quite see what they're doing, but they're doing something saying they can identify those. And then a kind of elaborate sort of wooden contraption over water that is to do with testing whether or not they can walk on water or can float on water the way that witches can, as the sort of two things you see flashes of these tests being done in other towns. And that's your sort of main concern. And that's your sort of your thought about what the Witchfinder might do, and that generally you think you kind of have a few flashes as well of like different people around the town that are whispering about it, because they're all kind of whispering about the Witchfinder. So it connects in your magical ability. They kind of tap in somehow to that kind of images that you're seeing, that people are kind of gathering ready to take anyone that they think might be suspect to see this Witchfinder first thing in the morning, and that's kind of, he's going to arrive in the morning, so the afternoon today, and then that this will kind of somehow play out. Although the carpenter was fairly strategically headed off from going down to set this up, so who knows what's going to happen on that front. But yeah, you sort of
that
have
was the carpenter's job.
Yeah. So you have this sense of that's the sort of timeline that you know that there's this sort of 2 different tests they're going to do, and it's tomorrow morning. Sure.
Quinn obviously communicates this to the other characters.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, so we have a limited time frame to do things if we want. We could try and break Abigail out, but that, I don't know, would solve the actual problem of the Witchfinder being in town, and also then Abigail's been brought in once. They probably just do it again, and also then we would probably be more suspicious. I think we should go find Abigail, and then do something to get the Witchfinder out of here. Just no.
I think that Raven would tell them that Abigail helped her conceal her really overt magic when she was a kid. And I think that would be she's convinced, she's no, Abigail can fix it. She knows how to help us and keep us safe. We should get Abigail, is I think what Raven wants to do.
Do we know where she is? I don't know. Where is she?
And Raven shows the map and says that she found exactly where she is in the keep by scrying.
In the keep? We're not getting into the keep. And
you know that, I mean, that main sort of courtyard area, that's open generally, kind of people to go in. You wouldn't be able to go into private rooms, but you can go into that area, and that is where people are going to probably be bringing suspect witches first thing in the morning. So that's going to be open to the public. That's where people are going to be heading anyway, if you want to kind of try something in that sense. For a sense of timeline as well, because we are obviously live streaming, playtesting, who knows how long things are going to take. So I think we'll probably try and do slightly bigger story steps with each of our kind of roles and things here, and probably go for a kind of 20 minutes or so more, I think is probably about our, that's what we're kind of aiming for, and vaguely keeping an eye on the clock for our everyone who's kind of tuning in, and see how we kind of resolve this. But it's been great to kind of test out how those mechanics work a little. So if you guys want to kind of formulate a plan of some kind, then we can step back to a reality moment, so you can give these characters some new abilities to help with that, and then we will kind of execute it, potentially have another reality moment in that plan sequence somehow when you're trying to pull things off, if there's something else we want to add to the characters. But that's our kind of a little bit of a game plan for the rest of the stream. So you can plan and formulate what you like to do.
Yeah, I propose on a weird moment of confidence that you both turn me in. Then I can convince them that I am actually just a really good fisherman.
Okay.
And then from there we tell Abigail what's going on? That's not?
We take you in, so that we are all in and you are in custody? Is that what you mean?
I haven't thought this through.
I like the confidence of the start of the plan, though.
Yeah,
it was great.
That's how we get this in. Yeah. That was the problem, right?
I also have this mysterious blue potion. We don't know what it does.
It's Gatorade.
Oh, right. Well, if our electrolytes are running low in the middle of the night...
we might need to run.
That's a good point. And we would vastly outpace those guards. Okay, so we get... The end goal here is to get Abigail out.
Yes.
Yes? Okay, cool.
I think.
I say so, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think your understanding generally of the town is that there would be probably like other people who do similar enough things based on the way that people understand things like familiars. There'd be other people that maybe would be at sort of risk of being accused, but really the three of you are probably the most vulnerable to it kind of being accurately identified. So you're not necessarily super duper worried about the rest of the town if you kind of head this off somehow with you and the three of you and Abigail's accusations or whatever happens there. So in terms of the Witchfinder then still being in the town, like I know that was kind of Marcus sort of mentioned, so you can think about how you maybe can use your various abilities and things if you want to try and resolve that, so it probably doesn't necessarily need to spiral to everyone else or however you want to kind of play that off. But you're probably the most immediate three to be added to this.
That's why I say we take ourselves in someone. I like the main suspect, and then we get to know where Abigail specifically is. We get her out and move 2 towns over. Start over again.
Oh man, I just got my shop all set up. Aww. Alrighty.
All right.
Yeah,
Okay.
Take Leandro in. I could use the mysterious potion.
Yeah, I love this.
Raven can talk to the rats, maybe?
You're going to go first thing in the morning, of course, because that's if you're bringing someone in. So you've got the kind of evening. If you want to sort of give me a sense of what's your character doing to kind of prepare, and we'll then draw back to a reality moment to add an ability of some kind to this particular kind of moment if you want. So what are you, first of all, what's your character kind of generally doing to prepare for this day tomorrow?
Could I flip the order? I have an idea, but it would require like a new thing being added.
Okay.
Let's
all right, zoom back to reality. Let's do that first, and that's great. So, what kind of things to do with this this particular moment, this particular drama of what's happening in the imagination? What does your reality character kind of connect with and want to bring?
Isaac was or is playing Baldur's Gate 3 because
stunning.
Immersion. Yes, because Marcus has been playing Baldur's Gate 3 recently. It's gotten to the point where it's like, oh yes, of course, like a throwing, like a potion that you throw, and like suddenly, like the walls just kind of vanish for a second, or like sort of turn into mist or something. You can walk through them essentially.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, aha! Of course, I want to make that. Quinn's like, aha.
Yeah. Awesome.
I divined the potion.
Yeah, cool. That can be an additional, that doesn't need to be the potion you already have. This can be a kind of new one that you're making in your preparation. So we'll roll that in a minute when we kind of montage those. So reality.
I like montage.
Jenna and John, what are you up to?
I can
All right.
No.
You go, yeah.
Okay. So after doing all that studying earlier, John is doing a presentation, very confident of himself, very up on on his high horse, nailing it, at least from his perspective. He's absolutely nailing it, making himself bigger. It's the best presentation anybody has seen ever. Therefore, Ignacio can now up his size physically, like make themselves more of a presence within the room, throwing kind of like an I forgot the word in all the languages I know. So the impression, making a more of a physical impression by enlarging themselves for a brief moment.
Yeah, I love this. So like enthralling, like getting the kind of attention of the crowd as well, kind of holding the awesome. I love the idea of this man kind of doing this presentation and thinking about somewhere in the back of his mind, like, man, witches have magic.
How sick would it be to be big?
I can just do this naturally, like I'm so
good at this.
Tielah, Jenna, what's Jenna doing?
So Jenna is thinking back to all of the really like OP like power she's seen in a lot of like recent witch media, thinking of the like big like power of a character. So like she already knows like that they can have hidden magic forms, but she's also thinking back to WandaVision about how like the playing with people's like perceptions of realities. So now Raven, in the way that she is tapped into the life force of all beings around her, can now slightly manipulate the way that they see the world and what they perceive as reality.
Ooh, okay. I love this. Kind of where I thought that was going, and I love it.
The way I put it, kind of like as dream
kind of
state.
No, yeah, WandaVision energy.
Dream
love it.
state. Yes.
Sure, watch
cool.
that. That's good.
Very cool. That's kind of a thought in the back of that Jenna's reality character's mind. So as each of you are kind of, as players, we're drawing on those moments and those thoughts from our reality characters. So these are now abilities added to your witch characters for the next little bit of our story. So if anyone wants to give a little montage moment, anything that you're doing to prepare this evening before we go to our morning heist, infiltration, I'm not sure what to call it now.
Prison break?
Prison break, kind of, maybe. So yeah, Marcus, you were kind of ready with an idea. So do you wanna?
Oh, I want to make the potions.
Yeah. So roll me your new ability. So you're gonna roll.
I got a 7. So.
Hey, beautiful. So yeah, you kind of tap into this new idea you've had about how you can do this, and you can create that potion. Brilliant.
The cards were nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. I am creating different hidden pockets within. One of my main crafts is sewing and creating handiwork.
Wonderful.
So it's creating little secret pockets in the cape, in the shirt. So that's where I can have pocket sand or hide stuff that I can then maybe distract people with.
Yeah. And potentially kind of hidden potion pockets perhaps
as well, yes.
And your team. Roll that craft for me. So it's 9 out of 10 likely.
Oh, thank God. 1.
You had a lot of ones.
I know.
Which is good in this game.
Which in this case is great.
I'm glad I'm glad I'm getting rid of them here.
So easy, firmly within your ability, you can kind of craft some extra pockets, extra things on your own outfit, and the other two, if you want to have kind of concealed potions or various things, you guys can think about that too. Brilliant. All right, Raven. Tielah, what's she doing anything?
I think that Raven is sort of thinking about this new ability and maybe like testing it out just a little bit on the other two in very mundane ways. Making them see like a rat here or there, just testing it out, seeing how it works. And
I did not remember my room being so comfortable.
I was absolutely about to be like, so both of you think that you're in a heist movie. You're doing the montage at the start of Ocean's 8. You know?
Yeah.
I love that movie.
No, that's not
Quinn
quite.
is very alarmed that there's a rat in the store.
Just little things here or there. There's like, she's just seeing how it works. And I think a lot of it is also mental prep, because she expects that using so much magic in this perception winding sense, I feel she knows she's probably going to have to take off the ring during this at some point. So she's doing a lot of like prep about that, knowing that they will see her for what she really is.
Exciting. Cool. All right. Well, all of your characters can rest for the evening. You kind of can stay. Abigail's got so many various pillows and things upstairs. You can kind of stay together for the evening. You kind of make your potion using some of her ingredients and practice your craft. You do your sewing using some of her thread and kind of think about this little moment together this evening, as you kind of haven't really known each other that well before, but you've had a little bit of a connection, but now you kind of have this little common purpose bringing you together for a jailbreak. And yes, you have a little evening together and rest well and are up bright and early as you all can kind of emerge from Abigail's home. You hear the whispers in the street, the kind of town crier a couple of streets over kind of calling out that the witch finder's coming and bring your witches to the keep,
Hear ye,
to
hear ye.
the square. Hear ye, hear ye. I'm trying to remember any of the actual early modern. Any woman? No, I can't remember. There's one that is woman though. The Newcastle kind of. Anyway. So yeah, you hear that the kind of summoning, and you know that it's all happening. So what do we see? How are we bringing in Ignacio?
Oh, I'm picturing like the very stereotypical like march through the streets, like ha ha, we have got a witch.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie. I'm now picturing Star Wars, like Chewie and Han, and
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You've got very fake cool.
It's the thinnest thread ever on the wrist. It's like,
we got him.
Each of you to make a roll for me, and this is a kind of collective. All three of you need to succeed for this to totally kind of work for this moment of what are you doing. So this can be a physical thing if it's about how you're kind of pretending to hold your hands together, whatever you're doing. It can be a social skill. It can be a mental skill if you're looking out for things. What are you bringing to the moment as you march up towards this area and through the streets to kind of pull this ruse off? Is each of you kind of contributing?
Adaptability. Be like,
Yeah.
and just be like, I'm adapting to the situation.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's a weird, like you're doing kind of this multi-level thinking, there's lots going on, it's kind of keeping an eye out for what's around you. Absolutely. You can all roll the same thing. If it's the same thing, that's fine, by the way. Just what's your characters?
I got a 3.
Beautiful. Success. So it's 1 out of 3. Tielah, what are you thinking?
I think in the interest of not metagaming this, it's probably Guile because she's terrible at lying, which does mean it's a hard roll. So apologies, everyone. Let's try. Oh damn! No, I did not make it.
That's right. We get a partial success. It's just sort of shapes how it goes. So yeah, no. All right.
No.
And this is maybe something to think about as well if you're watching audience feedback, or you guys as well, if you want to think about how this game I don't really have a mechanic for helping each other very much. So there might be a way to like have someone lend you their score or something that we could sort of do there in future. I don't know. I was also thinking in that moment. This hasn't come up in my other playtests. Kind of, it should have, but here we are.
I'll do an adaptability check, seeing as Raven is not very much pulling it off, so that's one of my biggest ones. And like crying for, it isn't me, why are you doing this? And oh my god, are you serious? I got a 9.
Oh no.
I was about to say, if both of you want to like roll an extra something to try and like to save it. How about Marcus, throwing you under the bus here, but would you like to, if you can make 2 successful rolls of any kind, you can kind of save this situation.
Save the shit show.
If not, that's okay. It can go a little wrong, and we go from there. That's not a problem. But yeah, do you want to? They can be the same thing. How are you going to try and make up for that, and see if you can still do this as planned?
It'd be kind of interesting to see where it goes if it doesn't work super well. But I just heard Tielah and Leandro. What do you want to do?
Yeah, you can go with it.
I mean, yeah. I'll be fine. It's my asshole. Mine, for sure.
Suffer in the fate we created.
No, this is great. Yeah. So you guys are kind of making your way through the town and both trying to do these kind of performances of sorts and kind of trying to cover for each other and make it seem sort of believable. And say you're kind of trying to really play into it, and I think in a town where people do know of most of the other people in the area and such, it seems to perhaps strike people around you as a little bit suspicious that the two of you would be bringing in this other person. Like, the three of you together is this kind of, it doesn't quite, your performances don't quite, it doesn't really quite make sense with their kind of perception of you in the town. It doesn't quite line up. So you sort of get these kind of strange looks from people around you, and you see a couple of people kind of sort of tail end join in around the three of you, as though they're kind of also accompanying you to perhaps give some additional information to the witchfinder. To kind of, they're like, this is, maybe I should be the neighbor that tells them. So you've gained a little crowd kind of going with you to escort you, because they think something is kind of going a bit wrong here, and they want to make sure that the report about Ignacio, but possibly the three of you, or definitely the two of you, is accurate. They're going to give some kind of extra thought. So you've gained a little posse following you through to the town. You haven't quite pulled off the subtlety of the we're turning this one person in, but it kind of works, but not perfectly. So you get to the main kind of the gates open. You get to the main square inside the keep, the kind of courtyard area, and you see the town kind of main big hall, wide open doors, and people kind of milling around everywhere. You see, it doesn't look like a lot of people are kind of dragging anyone in by force. There's sort of perhaps some people looking a little concerned. You get maybe the sense that people are kind of here to dob on someone but didn't necessarily drag someone in. And so the effect of the three of you kind of showing up with this little slightly not quite right seeming show does kind of draw attention. So you can kind of see people around you are kind of looking and paying attention. You don't see the witchfinder yet. You can get to the front doors. We can go in. What would you like to do?
I think we have to keep going with the plan at this point. Like, there's too much happening. We gotta go in.
Sure. So you head inside the hall. You see the kind of main kind of council, like leaders of the town, kind of around, and you see a guy he's in like black kind of leather jacket that shouldn't exist, a full kind of black hat, the pilgrim hat maybe. Absolutely inappropriate.
Jacket shouldn't exist in this time period, or just shouldn't exist in general?
I mean, I very much meant in this time period, but we don't have a time period. It's fantasy, so it can exist anytime. It's a matrix, leather, this kind of grizzled sort of grungy looking, like bit of scruff on the face, man who's standing at the front of the hall and kind of turns towards you, face you guys as you enter. We don't have a lot of time left, so I'm being really dramatic to get it happening. And you see there's kind of a few people sitting around, and you can see kind of one corner looks like something kind of going on. So does anyone want to roll me any? It could be a kind of social role, could be looking, could be what do you want to kind of to suss out the vibe of what you just walked into, or to observe what's going on, or use magic if you want. So what would you like to roll for the last kind of details?
I think adaptability probably to figure out what's happening.
Yeah. Go for it.
As a 9. No, I didn't do it.
It's very distracting trying to be really sociable all of a sudden. You're like, I have not been around this many people in possibly years. Everyone is looking at me. So, brave and struggling. Leandro, was that also a grimace?
My dices are loaded. I got a 9 again.
Oof. What were you rolling on? Is that adaptability as well?
Adaptability as well. And all I needed was an 8. Come on.
Oh, same problem.
I also was rolling on adaptability, and I got a 10. So.
Oh, the dice are absolutely wanting to tell a story for you guys in this moment. Oh my god. So you have kind of stumbled into this environment, and you realize kind of as you step in that none of you quite actually have enough kind of clues or information to really
feel like
Does that
stumble.
kind of connect? Yeah.
I feel like stumble is the right word. Like we fall head first into the room, make a lot of noise, and like, oh.
You've kind of accumulated this sort of like crowd pushing in behind you. So when you guys kind of dead stop, being like, you kind of get the like crowd effect of like bumping into the back of you and kind of domino effect as everyone kind of crowds in. So you've got like a full hall, and you've ended up kind of pushed all the way up to the front. As far as you can't see Abigail because you're kind of looking for any sort of clue. You can see there's something going on kind of in that corner behind, but you're really all your attention is drawn to this kind of social pressure looming over you from behind, and this dramatic witchfinder figure who is standing in front of you and like kind of raises an eyebrow and looks across at you. So your ruse has pretty thoroughly failed, but what would you all like to do?
It's the type of panic attack that's going to end real bad, so I think if anyone wants to do anything, do it first.
I wanna do the enlargement thing now. Like,
yeah.
I'll take the big speech now. Like, enlarge myself and go like, I'm here to present that
yourself.
Economics.
I found the fish I lost yesterday. That's my magic.
All right.
I find the fish.
Big kind of distraction energy. All right, amazing. Yeah, roll that ability for me. Go for it.
Oh, thank God. I was seeing the 10 already. It was a 5.
Yeah, okay. You are front and center anyway because you were kind of the middle of this little triangle of the three of you. Step forward and put on this huge kind of performance. You enthrall the kind of whole crowd around you is really sucked into watching that. And the other two of you can kind of do whatever you want to do next with a pretty solid kind of distraction. Unless you do something equally as huge, you're probably okay to kind of maneuver a little bit and kind of get away with something. And I'll say both of you can make a roll, but only one needs to succeed for the two of you to succeed whatever you're doing because you've got this. Maybe we'll try that as a kind of helping each other mechanic. So you can both make a roll. You'll have one success. What would you like to do?
I think it might be time to try the potion, the mysterious Gatorade potion.
Yeah, what are you hoping that it's going to do?
I'm hoping it's like invisibility or something, but we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
What is the 4? Okay.
Hey, yeah. You think like that the kind of divination, what you were hoping for out of this potion, this ability to kind of be unseen in some way, and yeah, you can you kind of. It's sort of feel this sense of like people are kind of looking through you. You don't know exactly, are you invisible? Are you kind of blending in somehow? But yeah, you're unseen for a moment. People don't notice this kind of moment as you like slip away. Raven, what are you kind of doing at the same time as or do you want to wait and see what happens with that? You do have kind of
wait and see
if you fail on a roll.
Wait and see what happens with that because I think yeah.
All right. So yeah, you're effectively invisible. What do you want to do?
Can I head over to like the corner where it's like something's happening here?
Yeah. You head over. You see a kind of little setup in the corner with like a little sort of curtain around some of it that people are kind of gathered around, and an array of implements. Most of them look like they're poking, like very kind of. As you look at it with no kind of context, it kind of looks a little like it kind of nothing, like it's like a pencil and a few sort of things that seem fairly normal. But in the context, you get the sense that something about this is some kind of suspicious witch testing setup. And you do see Abigail kind of seated in the corner, and she has someone sort of sitting next to her, and she's sort of sat and kind of sat in on herself a little bit, but is trying to kind of look over the people in front of her to see what on earth is going on in the middle of the room. But she's kind of, she is there, you see her. She doesn't seem to be tied up, but she's definitely kind of monitored.
Could I offer her the dregs of the mysterious blue potion?
Yeah, how do you want to go about doing that without the people? So people are distracted, but as you kind of go up, like, how are you wanting her to take a potion without that being noticed, / how are you communicating to her that that's what's happening because obviously you are invisible. So how are you doing that moment? You tip it on her, you can do it. Like, you tell me. What's the vibe? I said offer to her, so I'm wondering how you do that.
Yeah. I mean, I think it strikes me as kind of rude to like be like, "Hello," just throw a potion at someone.
Remember me.
Hi. I kind of just like sort of be over there and be like, "Hello, I'm the disembodied voice, like in front of you. Drink this; it will help." Charm.
Yeah, okay.
Roll, maybe?
Do you just try and sort of try and like whisper and not have the others kind of around you hear and kind of Or
Sleight of hand. I rolled a 3, so.
Okay, yeah. In this absurd moment of distraction, you kind of manage to sort of slip up and next to her, and you get the sense as well that this potion, this kind of magic of being unseen, of being invisible, is a little kind of flexible to you. So you can make your voice heard or not. You know, this sort of slippery magic of what you managed to weirdly divine and create somehow. You definitely can never recreate. You have no idea.
Oh no.
You did it. So you kind of managed to slip it to her, and you see she's sort of surreptitiously tries to kind of drink from this, and you maybe extend a little bit of that magic to her as you let her have the last bit of the potion, and she is also going to kind of blend and become unseen. Right now, the people around you are pretty distracted by whatever is on earth is going on.
And fish! And fish!
But yeah, so they'll notice at some point, but right now you've got the cover of that.
Okay.
Yeah, she kind of, you can sort of still see, you realize you can sort of see her, and she almost looks like she can maybe see you a little, or sense something, because you've both drunk it, so. She sort of stands up.
Okay. I think I want to have the other, like, while not being their potion, I want to like throw it to the wall and like leave, but I think that if like shattering glass would probably draw people's attention a little more than
you very much, your friend has just done big magic in front of a witchfinder, so you guys do need to sort of get yourselves out of this situation too.
Right.
I think
can I look to Raven?
Yeah, you could look to, I was going to say, if you want to come back over, if we want, we can do a final kind of suck back to reality, if anyone would like to think of any additional thing, but we haven't really used all the things, so I was just trying to, if you want to squeeze one more in. Do you want to do another reality moment or just finish this up? No?
I'm pretty good.
Okay, cool.
I'm pretty good.
I didn't want someone to have like a really cool idea and then me skip it. I didn't know what you thought of. Okay, cool. Then let's go. So you come back over. You've got Abigail with you. What are you doing, Raven?
Raven?
I see the dice.
So panicked. This has gone so incredibly poorly. I think being very socially stressed, she doesn't quite grasp that what is happening with the enlargement is actually helping. I think she's just like, oh god, they can see us doing magic, everything's gone wrong. And I think in that moment of panic, she senses that Abigail is here, and that is like, she's like, that's it. We've got to get her, and we've got to leave, and we've got to do it right now. And she panics and takes off her ring and transforms into her unveiled form. The glamour like melts away, and you see this being with giant wings and a bird mask that is like affixed to her face. And in this like burst of magic, she uses the new ability to make everyone blind. Everyone is in a state of darkness except us 4 magic users.
Okay. Roll that for me. I'm going to say two dice, but it's the craft. So you got 9. You've got to get 9 or less. There's only 2 possible.
A 9? Yep. Cool.
All right.
Oh, it dropped on the floor. Hang on. No, I'm rolling again. I couldn't see. And an 8.
Yes.
Let's go.
Okay. For the first time, you like reach out around you with this magic as you like unleash this form that also, you know, keeps it contained. So having this moment of kind of letting that loose in this space that you've never kind of done before, and knowing that you've got to protect this new friend who's yelling about fish, and this is kind of this panic of not knowing what's going to happen. You're like, I think Quinn drank the Gatorade, but like it's kind of this sort of panic of this moment. The first thing that is obviously kind of coming to you is this, like, you don't want people to see you. And that, yeah, kind of magically sort of extends into this darkness that everyone in the room, it's like the lights were turned out. Suddenly you get this, you can see everyone around you kind of sort of panicking and moving. They can still hear, but no one can see. Everyone is kind of as though their eyes are closed. And you all can kind of see maybe a little misty kind of darkness around people's eyes to give you the sense that everyone who is in the hall and possibly nearby those kind of big open doors, yeah, it works. Let's go. What are we doing? How are we getting out of here?
All right.
Throw the potion at the wall. Oh, sorry.
I'll run.
Yeah.
Yeah. Roll me the potion. See if you got a kind of easy access route. So.
Yep, I got a 3.
Beautiful. You chuck it at a kind of nearby wall in the area that you're in. You kind of make yourself this sort of magical door. I'm going to need a roll each for something that you're doing to kind of aid this. It can be, doesn't have to be physical. It could be your nimbleness if you want, but it could be something you're doing otherwise that is kind of helping. What do you think you bring into this escapee moment? Get through.
I think I need to nimbleness out of the center of the room.
Yeah, go for it.
Oh, that was good. Was it good? It was wrong. Oh my god, I got an 8 from a 7. Oh my god, this is going so wrong.
All right, no, that's okay. So you see the other two, you see your friend is starting to like kind of trip because he's getting used to this kind of form that they've stepped into to draw everyone's attention. And so snapping out of that's kind of tricky. So we'll need an extra roll from one of you guys to help with that.
I'll do strength because I've got my wings, so I can try and like drag him and use the wings to like not like quite fly. He's a bit too big, I think, for that, but just like propel us out.
Yeah, do it.
Or yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
amazing. So
I was seeing a crash landing already. I was seeing a crash landing.
You're kind of like stumbling a little, and it's hard. Like all these people who suddenly can't see are kind of like confused as well. So you've got to kind of navigate. So great, that sort of helped there. Now, what are the two of you guys doing for your own kind of way to navigate what you're doing to get out?
Let's see what I
think now. Yeah, I think I need to do another fortitude to kind of actually get out, and I want to like see if Abigail needs to be picked up because she's a little old lady.
Yeah, probably. I mean, it would help. Yeah. I was gonna do a 1 roll for her somehow after, so this can circumvent that if you pick her up.
No, it's a 9. I didn't get it.
Oh, that's all right. I think you're probably going to kind of get out with that first roll, but you can't pick Abigail up with you. You kind of can't try and maneuver that, and you've got this kind of larger than life figure with you, whether that's sort of actually physically or just kind of the sense and the magic of that. So you're kind of distracted, keeping that strength up, so you can't grab Abigail. She's going to follow somehow. We'll make a roll for it. We'll see. But Marcus, what are you doing?
I'm going to make a nimbleness roll and see if I can, like, help Abigail, who is like, whoa! And, and see how that goes.
Yeah.
But I got a 10, so no.
No!
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
We're not getting out.
Okay. So, this makes more story. It's all right. We'll thank you if anyone's still tuning in live, where we'll wrap up soon. We'll see. This is what happens. You try and kind of help her as well, and kind of the mess of people around you, and not being able to, like, you're not seen by them now at all, but this kind of confusion of like where the invisibility kind of makes it a little tricky in some ways, and also everyone's like stumbling and trying to see what's happening, and you see the kind of witchfinder figure that is in front of you that can't see you, but has kind of tried to sort of lunge forward and grab at where this sort of big figure was in front just a minute ago, and it can't see but is going to try and sort of do something, and you get a sense that it has kind of grabbed onto Abigail in that moment, because she was kind of the back of your group. So what are you going to do to try and kind of get her in this last moment out of this situation?
I kick the witchfinder.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Fortitude. That's a.
Yeah.
As long as he doesn't grab your foot, that would be great.
Yeah. You can just try kick him off. Go for it.
This is a 4. Let's see how it. 3. Yeah.
Let's go.
Okay, so you gotta kick him off. You see Abigail kind of like the sort of sense of where she is. She kind of rights herself. The other two, what do you want to do to kind of help get her out the door now? So you've kicked off the Witchfinder. Would have been harder, but he can't see. So Ignacio or Raven, you're being held by Raven to kind of carry out through this space. The two of you can do something separately or together to try and help Abigail get out with you.
I'll try to get one of my unused pockets.
Yeah.
I have somewhere a rope.
Okay.
To help us all guide us together.
Okay.
What's that?
So that's your craft. With your kind of sewing and things, I think we can put that under that. I like that.
Oh, that's a close 9. Let's go.
Hey! Yeah, so you kind of reach into those pockets, all that preparation you did last night, weaving your magic into the clothes that you're wearing, and you pull out a rope and you kind of manage to connect all of you and get kind of Abigail grab a hold as well and get out of the town hall. These people we will never know what happens to them, because that's where we're going to step out of our story. Presumably at some point they'll be able to see again and just be really confused. Do you want to each give me a little sentence or two? What's that kind of montage moment at the end of this little story of what happens as you all go and set up a new home, a new something? What's the vibe?
I feel like there's a lesson to be learned here to not be each on your own, especially when this kind of thing happens, and to create this group of people who have their crafts and their magics and can help each other out, which is basically what has been happening in the connection back to Abigail.
The dice rolls really made that happen for you as well.
Oh yeah. That was the greatest escape in history.
We're all so graceful in our exit strategy.
We in and out without being noticed.
Yeah, well, I think that's the thing about this kind of storytelling game is it's not really winning or losing. Anything that goes wrong is a different thing. That's kind of the way that it plays out. So failing is just a bit of the story,
Townspeople don't remember very much except for a vague sense of fish, and then being very dark. What happened?
Then maybe the Witchfinder did something. Maybe they're all gonna.
Now that's the real witch.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Anything else? That can be our kind of conclusion. I think that's really nice if we want to finish there.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, that's a really cute little moral of the story. Yeah, well, that kind of wrapped it up. I was like, I don't really want to wrap it up. I guess in terms of the game mechanic, maybe we can add a little moment each for our reality characters. You don't necessarily, it's not a kind of direct dreaming up this scenario. But do you want to maybe add a little narrative flair, kind of reverse inspiration? What's something that we want to add to our reality characters' knowledge about witches, whether that is historically or pop culture or whatever you like? What's a fleeting thought that they might have after, if they were to experience this story or know about it or think about it in some way? What's something you want to... Can be silly, can be whatever you like.
I feel like John would have learned nothing.
Yeah, that's fair.
Absolutely.
That's a fair point. That's a
this is not true. I mean, it's not important. It's the townspeople. They're probably, common folks' beliefs. what we really need to focus on is the structures of power and politics that made this town end up with law and order.
Yep. I think that's, the message that sometimes people don't want to take anything from a story and will not. That is also the thing. That's fair. Either of the other two?
Yeah, I think
something
that
gets written into the story.
Yeah, I think that in Jenna's sort of research and writing, and just like there's just so much for her to absorb about witches, and like approaching it from a fiction sense. There's just no way to pack all of this, like what people have created of witches, into one story. And it really makes her, I think, reflect on the way that people create witches as characters, and like how, like why they focus on what they do. And to think like it's just a very interesting reflection on what people think of magic and what people think of women.
Yeah, cool. Thank you. Fun witchcraft fact is that historians, we call it the cumulative concept of like what a witch was in the early modern period, because no trial had like the same features. Even there were kind of a bunch of things that are like the most common things that we see in different assemblages, in different trials, in different kind of cases, and all this sort of thing. So even in the trial period that we kind of think of as the sort of peak of people knowing and believing in witches, there still wasn't a one consensus. I think it's a really useful concept for all sorts of witch archetype things, not just the history one. So cumulative, there's all this stuff, and you can kind of pull a few of the things, and that's still a witch somehow. But something with a completely different set of the things can also still be a witch, etc. So thank you, Tielah. That was really beautiful. Marcus, you get to finish.
I fear that I will not have something as nice as the other two. It's like, you know what? Why don't we try and like cook based off of like just leftovers and tarot cards? Oh, we're gonna put 3 eggs in the pasta and ham and peppers and something else.
Just drink the random potion. What's the worst that could happen?
Exactly.
Yeah, I love that. Look, there's kind of kitchen witch, like that's kind of modern witch Wicca thing. There's probably books that Isaac will never read and never use because he will make it up.
Pretty much.
Anyway, okay, I think that kind of brings our story to an end, and we are over time because this is what I'm like as a person always, especially running games. So I just wanted to say thank you so much to all three of you for sharing, for coming up with all these amazing things in preparation and on the spot today. So much of this was really improvised, and I think it's a harder skill than a lot of people realize. So thank you all for coming into this with so much excitement and energy and just having a crack at it. This was really fun. And I have lots of thoughts about things that work and how to kind of do it. So, and thank you everyone for tuning in at home if you're watching live or for watching this recording later. Please share your feedback. I would love to know, and I'd love to build this into something that works for more people. I also think it's written for like me to run a game. So I want to make this something that other people can use and enjoy too. In the future. So yeah, give me all your thoughts, and thank you so much, and thank you to Adam for hosting us here on Ludohistory, and making all of this easy and possible. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank all of you. Thank Adam, and remember, kids, fish.
And drink a Gatorade.
Oh yes.
And have a panic attack.
Smash bottles
And it
against
all works out.